for the.
We got quiet.
Yes, it did.
It's like church.
You just.
In the bells.
Yes, yes, wait.
Not even just play at church.
You always hear the mic. Oh, I didn't.
My grandchildren are here, you'd be much louder.
With what?
My grandchildren are here.
Oh,
much
I
louder.
know. It's yours too. They're only quiet during the song. Thank you. This is today's packet. Yes, 496 pages. Oh,
I went
goodness.
almost.
Jen, are you ready?
I am.
Call this meeting in November 12 to order, and in honor of Veterans Day, we'll have Staff Sergeant Jim O'Rourke lead us on pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth,
President.
Chairman Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Alguier,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner,
Present.
all present.
We have a proposed agenda. Yes, Mr. Lewis.
I know I gave you all a heads up, but I'd like to have item number 10F removed from the agenda. I know I gave my explanation yesterday. Bottom line is that in our transition, one of the aspects of that transition dealt with contract negotiations. And I'm not ready to recommend any stipends for probably another month at least. So because of what I saw happening on Friday morning, that expertise is going to be added as part of our transition. Most of the folks that have come over or started with the county in finance, in fact, all in finance as well as human resources, have not had the experience of going through contract negotiations. There's a lot of the knowledge that is here in the history department over there that we need to get into theirs. And so I'm not ready to follow through with the recommendation that I prepared in the packet.
Mr. Rexroth.
I respectfully would like to keep that item on the agenda.
I appreciate I appreciate, Richard, your comments about negotiation. I think that's a very also another very good reason to continue this, but I don't think we've met the and it would be in discussion if you leave it on, but I don't think we've met the criteria yet for removing. So for sake of moving along, I would recommend approval of the agenda minus 10F.
Support. All those in support of the motion.
Is there further discussion? Would you say?
Well, if you look back at the motion, we would have to go back and either change our motion from previous or make a different recommendation in the way I understand it. Because even though we're in the middle of an interim administrator, and originally we thought we would be with the CFO, but we don't have our full-time administrator on board yet. And it's an infant department still. So I just think we should.
We have a motion to amend the agenda and it's been seconded. I think if we're going to discuss that issue, it ought to remain on the agenda. But all those in support of removing that from the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those in support of the amended agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We have And we'll hear your concerns then when we get.
I've already given my concerns, you won't hear another word out of it.
We now have communications proclamations. Mr. Lewis.
Couple of things. I haven't heard yet whether the Leelanau Township Planning Commission will be uptaking our amended SLUP application on this Thursday night. I haven't seen the agenda and I haven't seen any notification of such. But just know that the last communication that I had with the Leelanau Township planner, that was his intent. If it does take place, I will let you know in advance that it is happening, so we'll see what happens from there. Second, just want to remind everyone that our public hearing on the proposed budget that's in front of you will take place at our meeting next Wednesday night at 7:15. It will not take place at 7:14. At 7:15. It could take place at 7:16, but not until 7:15. So just want you to know, this is nothing that you needed to approve because it's all part of state law and statutory. And as you know, through our packet of information, this is when we set the public hearing. You could adopt the budget afterwards if you so like, or you can, whatever action you want to take after, but we still have to conduct the public hearing regardless. So just want to remind everybody. So
By the time, why not like 6:45 or 6:30? Just do it right during the regular board meeting, so.
okay, it has to happen at a regular board meeting. Okay, thank you for that update. So, okay, other than that, I have an introduction of Mr. Patrick Roach. Where he is, there he's back there. No, that did not happen since he arrived here at 9 o'clock this morning. Mr. Roach is our facilities director. This starts today. Of course, today will be the day that he gets to hang around with the crew, but also get all of his paperwork done so that we can have him officially on board. So we're happy to have him. And you can see that he and Jerry are already holding together. You know, there's going to be a mind meld that's going to take place there, hopefully, you know, between here and the end of December. So we appreciate you joining us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Does Mr. Lewis want to say anything?
Do you want to say anything, or do you want to just say hi, everybody?
I just want to say hi, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity. It's a short walk. I worked with the Marine Division this last summer, so just walked across the parking lot over here and I'm just excited to be more to come.
Welcome. Everybody, make sure your mics are turned on. Mine wasn't, so.
I think the clerk is going to be a part of your administrative.
Oh, yes. Quick update from our county clerk, Michelle Crocker.
You all look exhausted.
Oh, thanks. You look beautiful too. Good morning. As you know, we're currently, the Board of County Canvassers began canvassing the unofficial results from Tuesday, November 5th on last Thursday and Friday. During this process, late afternoon on Friday, the canvassers discovered within the unofficial results posted in the early hours of Wednesday morning that the early voting site results did not connect to our central election management computer, although the process that we had followed from all prior elections was the same. As I stated in the email I sent to you, although the role of the canvassers may appear to be mundane in nature, the process that was discovered on Friday shows that the process works as it should work. And that is why all results that are posted on the website and so stated are unofficial. Also stated on there, just like the townships of Cleveland, Empire, Caston, and the city of Traverse City report absent voter ballots with live precinct voting totals. That's why you see some voters totals with live, you see some with absentee, and then you see early voting. The County Board of Canvassers is still canvassing, and the unofficial results have been updated. They were updated Friday late with still unofficial results. And please remember that until certified, all results are unofficial, and continuous updates will be made as necessary until all election results are made. When this was discovered on Friday, the canvassers were to our last voting precinct, which was the early voting site. What they work with are tapes that are probably 100 yards long, and they began to take their statement of votes and look at the tapes, because the paper tapes is what we go by. The reports that are uploaded are just uploaded for viewing. Perhaps in the future they won't be, or whatever. But this shows that the process that is in place works. It shows that there's security. To debunk a few things, no votes were not counted. All votes were counted. All votes were tabulated. It would appear, if you've read any of the information on MLive per the state of Michigan, that they believe that there was human error. But again, emphasize this is what we expect to find when we canvass. We would hope not to find this. There were 4 other counties that had similar issues: Kent County, Calhoun County, Allegan County, and Leelanau. Leelanau being the most. In Calhoun County, it's some of their commissioner races may also change. So it's basically that there were no votes missing, there were nothing. It was an upload that went in the way we've always done it. Like every process, you try to figure out what can you do different, what can you do different. The keys to us on the screen were the same. We do not canvass, it's the Board of Canvassers that does it. But we know emotions are running high, we know emotions are clouding perspective. One of the questions that I do want to clear up very quickly, and one of my canvassers is here, I don't believe he's going to speak. He's always free to, of course. Why was the Board of Commissioners not notified quicker or first? When this occurred and it was brought to my attention, we have protocol we have to follow. And no offense to any of the Board of Commissioners, but you are not top in the list of who's going to be called when you have an election issue like this. We have to call the state of Michigan, as I did. I have to call the vendor to figure out what is the disconnect here. I have to call candidates. And our Democratic canvasser that's here can tell you that once I went there and we were looking at this and doing it, I had to come back into the room to say, and there were only 6 people in this room, whoever is calling the media, it's not that we're looking to keep this from the media. We are going to have full disclosure. But it was already reported to the media while I am trying to make phone calls to candidates. And it is what it is. I have to deal with it. And I could tell because of the questions I started to get that I have to say, whoa, how do you know when there's 6 people sitting in this room and I am trying to make contact with people and I'm trying to call them? I've got people that have their cell phones, they're not answering them. I have to leave messages. I have people whose boxes are filled and they're not taking messages. I am searching people I can find because as the filing official for my county candidates, I need to call them. I realize there is a desire to put someone's head on a platter. I also realize on behalf of the Board of Canvassers, it is my head. I've had nice emails. I've had a couple really terse, and it's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine, but it just comes with the territory. But I cannot emphasize enough to folks, because of instant gratification in posting these results, they are unofficial, we have become accustomed to them becoming the rule and the way it's going to be. I am quite sure of the emotions, for example, that Commissioner Ross went through, or I see Lois here. I don't know if Scott's here or not. The emotional, whatever, because you're seeing unofficial results, and I can tell you, no one's registering unofficial in their head. They're thinking this is it. So I get it. Those are not easy calls to make. I had to make them. I didn't see anyone else volunteering to make them. But I am the clerk to the Board of Canvassers. Everything is under their jurisdiction. I know that it gives no comfort to those that had this, but all votes were tabulated. All votes submitted were counted. There were no missing ballots. That is why things are backed up in paper. When the Board of Canvassers goes through this, they have that tape that is certified by those election workers that these are their totals. Now, we are going through the process. We do not perform the canvass. But now, as soon as one of the canvassers and I looked at it, because we're like, okay. As soon as I grabbed the chairman's tape from him to say, what do you mean they're not here? I can see now the pattern, but we do not canvass. That is not a function of us. It is a function of a bipartisan group of people under the law that have this. I can see the pattern if I just look at the president's votes. I can see it, the 16, 14, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 18, 16. I can see the pattern there of public logic and accuracy testing because you're not dealing with full totals. So what you saw when those 3,156 votes were uploaded and the totals combined in this report, that's where you see these numbers in the actual offices increasing. You don't see as large of an increase on the total number of voters. We were at 80.88% and it was at 16,253. And when those numbers were uploaded and stuck this time, it increased it to 17,827. Because if in fact it was logic and accuracy testing in there, there was a differential between the 3,156 and the public act or the logic and accuracy testing. Because then when you go and you look at it just from the sheet that I was reading from, which I think was president. So what was recorded as, let's say, 18 votes in the Trump-Harris race went up to 153. That was the Harris race. The Trump-Vance race, where it showed originally 16, should have been 300. And that is the difference between, because when you're doing your logic and accuracy testing, which is a different commission, that is the election commission's function. The election commission is not involved with the canvassing board whatsoever. Now, one other thing that people don't realize, so when those are up, you're going to see the difference. This was a heavily voted site. It is also the biggest upload that we do of the night. And I've learned a couple things since that, and I've read all of the information. Another thing that voters don't realize, we will be back to canvassing tomorrow, which is at 9 o'clock here. We're going to continue where we left off. So we're not starting with public comment or anything like that. Also, because yesterday was a holiday, today is the deadline for move ballots. And move ballots that are postmarked on or before Election Day of November 5th have 6 days to reach us. Or reach the township clerks. Let me say that they reach the township clerks.
Because I had.
Move is our military and overseas voters. And if they are received within that 6 days by the local clerk and postmarked by November 5th, they have to be brought to me. Yesterday, when I was counting, and I haven't looked to see what clerks were in there updating, I saw approximately 30. And I say approximately 30 because if I run the report today, they may have gotten a couple in. I did do a grid because one of the races that flipped came down to 7 votes. But I wanted to see how many potential move ballots are out there and if they even come back. Some of them will not come back. If they come back, this will be the first election we've ever had move ballots after the deadline returned. There are not enough move ballots unofficially based on very limited information. I have been focusing on commissioner races to see that are going to change those results. That is my prediction. But again, they are unofficial. And I had received an email from one of my fellow county clerks down in Kent County because they had some huge issues. And I just want to read this to you because I think it's pertinent. And I think in this day of modern technology, when everyone again wants instantaneous results, she says to me, "Hi there. It probably feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. So I just wanted to send you a note of encouragement. Don't forget, this is exactly what the canvas is for. It's why this part of the process is so incredibly important to ensuring every vote is counted and the results are accurate. It's why we always emphatically emphasize that reports are unofficial until the canvas has been completed, its review and certified the election." And then she goes on to keep educating people about the process, operating transparently and communicating with all stakeholders. I know that some of you are incredibly disappointed that you weren't the first call on my list. But I have an obligation to the Board of Canvassers. I have an obligation to contact the state of Michigan. I have to contact the people that assist me, and I need to contact, I felt as a courtesy, those voters. And I contacted as many as I can. Can I do it perfectly? No, I just got in and my staff told me I have got 14 emails. I've still got canvassing work I've got to get done. And this is how the process works. I can assure people that the Board of Canvassers is doing their job. I can assure you that every vote was tabulated. I don't know how I could have responded any quicker than what I have. I got my first media inquiry from the Leelanau ticker. I do not know who contacted him. It does not matter. It was done before I could get this under. Judge Kromkowski had already received a call before I could even call people. And again, she is part of the Election Commission. She's not part of the Board of Canvassers. We will continue with the canvass tomorrow. The unofficial results are looking excellent to me. I know it does not, again, give comfort to those, but the process is working. There is no conspiracy going on here. As the state has said, and I am not one to challenge it, it was human error, but I refuse to throw anyone under the bus. I will take it. I am in charge, but I am clerk to the Board of Canvassers. So we will continue on tomorrow with canvassing. We will certify. We have never not certified. And our votes for certification are always 4-0. So that is it in a nutshell.
Do you want to take any questions from commissioners?
We'll see how this goes. Yes, Commissioner Allgaier. Thank you.
Will there be a recount? on District 3?
On which district?
3.
I can address recounts. Recounts cannot be requested until a minimum within the 6-day time frame. We have to be certified before I can accept recounts petitions. I have the petitions on file. That's a candidate issue. I think that you need to look what the differential is. Right now it's 7. That is something that they would have to petition alleging fraud and a couple other things, decide what precincts they would want to recount. There is a fee to pay. That is one of the cheaper fees by the candidate to pay if the losing candidate would wish to do that. The higher the differential, the more the fee is. That happens to be one of the lowest. I can tell you on recounts, just so we're very clear, because I had a couple people asking me yesterday, which is very interesting, how the tide can turn from, I want a hand recount to, oh, just put them through the tabulator again. I found that an interesting concept and one I would be investigating. But recounts can, again, 6 days, if that's the choice, I'll have the petitions ready. They cannot be conducted till after the State Board of Canvassers has canvassed the state of Michigan. The State Board of Canvassers has a 48-hour petition recount deadline. If they release us, then it could be done after that. The earliest a recount would be done would be December, if it's even requested. And I think you need to wait until after but it's not a decision I make. I had some person saying the whole county needs to be recounted. That's not how this works. What this shows is, although uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, the process works as it is supposed to work.
Thank you for your well done. Thank you for some sort of explanation, but for the record, I want to set this straight very clear.
Yes.
That 3 of my constituents and your constituents that put themselves out there to run for office, for township offices, were not even attempted to be contacted by anyone from your office. And before I would, as a leader myself, before I would talk to any media, do an interview on TV 97 and 4, I would have called those people. I would have answered their emails. I would have made some better effort to let those people know that this system is supporting people running for office, not deterring them. This action that you have done by not doing a better job of communicating and educating stakeholders is very disappointing. And I represent those individuals. I take it to heart. I worked really hard for them to be able to run and put up with all the election stuff. And this is how they are treated. It's extremely disrespectful. And it's putting Leelanau County in a very bad light that I'm embarrassed to say that I'm any part of.
Yeah, well, thank you for your comments. We're all embarrassed by other people's behavior at different times, so I appreciate your comments.
I want to say that thanks for your explanations, and the system does work. And
It does work.
I've seen some of the Facebook posts, and I apologize for anybody that made some of the comments. I don't normally respond to Facebook posts. I did on a couple of occasions this weekend say the system works. And
The system does work. And we contact who we can contact, and it's not going to be perfect. And we do the best we can. As I said, the results are unofficial, and the people that also run for office are responsible for watching.
Thank you. Excuse me. I was trying to think of the thing, and it doesn't come to mind, but it's something along the line of that human error is something, but if you really want to mess things up, put it on the computer. And we have come to depend so heavily on the computers, as the clerk said, you know, that instant gratification. And I was in the courthouse Friday for a little while and poked my head in and saw the Board of Canvassers just doing what looked to me like this mundane, very repetitive, mundane, and they were doing their job, and so of course everyone was very surprised by what they found. But as Ty just said, this is a system, it does work. I do not see any disrespect. I thank you for your explanation. I think you did exactly what you had to do. And if I heard anything today, we still do not have official results. So it's very easy to point fingers and accuse and say these things, but no one knows what they would do until they would be in the position to do those things. So it's easy to cast stones, but it's not easy. I know it has not been easy on your staff. So I just want to thank your staff and the Board of Canvassers, all of them, some of who are here for what they do. It's not an easy job by any means.
Commissioner Rexroth.
Yeah, and I'll echo some of Commissioner Lautner's remarks. I mean, the Board of Canvassers was not invented when voting machines or computers took place. It's been around since elections because human or computers both make errors. There was a Board of Canvassers when there was just paper ballots and hand counting because you can do things wrong. People are involved, things happen. So I think this just shows that this is why that check is in place. The system works. You did your job. Something happened, but you know, you're doing what you're supposed to do. The system has done what it's supposed to do. Let's move on, get the election results.
I anticipate we'll be certified probably Thursday or Friday, just depends.
Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
One more.
Please call these candidates, give them the respect that they deserve for running for office to try to serve Leelanau County residents. They deserve a personal phone call to tell them that they are now not gonna be serving. That's please.
The results are unofficial. I have emails already drafted, Commissioner Ross. There's a procedure, emotions are running high. I have to remain on the job at hand. I've got the list, I've got the numbers. I have to at least sleep for a couple hours at night. I have been working every day, 12 hours a day with stuff the canvassers need. They have not escaped me. One of the individuals you're talking about, an hour before this was discussed, was being congratulated in the hall on the unofficial results. They will not be, nor have they been disrespected, but I have a process I've got to go through. They will be called. One of the emails I was reading from here is something I've already drafted. I just haven't hit the send button yet because I do not want to misstate anything or excite people any more than what they are. But I hear you and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Allison. And thanks, Jim. At this time, we invite public comment. It's a 3-minute and agenda specific. Sam Getzinger.
Michelle, please don't. So Sam Getzinger, District 1. And what I want to say is I really hope that, I'm sorry. I'm really hoping that this puts to rest the whole election denial stuff that's been coming before this commission for so long and disrespecting our clerk and our clerk's office. So Leelanau Indivisible and Traverse Indivisible gave Michelle Crocker an award for a defender of democracy. And we're so glad that she is on the case. These were not the results I was hoping for, but I'm not saying that it was wrong. The process worked, democracy does work. I got to work at the Cleveland Township office. I was so impressed with the Democrats and Republicans working together, welcoming voters. Democracy really does work. I'm hoping that this really puts to rest this whole ridiculous notion of how elections are stolen. And I want to thank Michelle and her
Thank you, Sam.
workers.
Thanks, Sam. Yes, Dr. Laporte.
Are these microphones working?
Yes.
My name is Dr. Bob Laporta, and I wanted to show some support to the commissioners about our Grand Traverse Tribe 2% generosity grants. I think that the county needs to continue with public and private partnerships And I think that this is a great opportunity that the tribe is offering us. So I'd like to support that, especially when it comes to renewable energy. Making and transporting electricity from fossil fuels is responsible for 80% of our polluted atmosphere. We learned back in junior high that if we try to use up any kind of cover-up approach to climate change that doesn't deal with the root cause of the problem, which is excessive and continual carbon emissions, carbon dioxide will continue to build up in both the atmosphere and the ocean.
Listening to the support for the
Grants.
2% grant
Yeah.
application.
That we're gonna either approve or not.
Okay, I just, okay, sorry, didn't seem like it was agenda.
Should I stop?
No, no.
I thought that was a real quick 3 minutes.
No, go ahead.
We need to employ as much renewable energy as possible. Price of renewable energy is now competitive with fossil fuels. Even with the incentives that are currently skewed against renewable energies, price of renewable energy is dropping around the whole world because demand in the US solar energy, fastest growing and most affordable source of new electricity in America. As the cost of solar energy systems drop significantly, more Americans and businesses have taken advantage of clean energy. This particularly affects our agricultural system, and renewable energy is crucial for food security because it provides a sustainable and reliable energy source for agricultural operations. Allowing farmers to mitigate the impact of climate change, reduce energy costs, improve irrigation systems, and minimize post-harvest food losses, ultimately leading to increased crop yields, improved food production, especially in vulnerable regions. Renewable energy helps combat climate change by reducing greenhouse emissions, which can directly benefit farmers facing extreme weather events like droughts and floods. Look what happened to our cherry yield, directly related to extreme weather conditions. We must support renewable energy in our county.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Rabbit.
Robbins, Elmwood Township. I want to discuss on the part there on the stipends that are coming up here today. I think you took care of that back in September, August, when you all voted for the administrator, or excuse me, financial administrator be put in place. And that her team would be up to speed. And when the budget with books were done, handed out, they would end. I think you voted on that. My take on that, I'm not a legal person, but it would take a super majority vote right now to even discuss that. So what that means is you would have to, be 4 of you today, vote to take it back to discussion and have it up for a vote. What I'm suggesting is right now, what I heard was that they may be needed for negotiations. Well, we're going into the holidays, we're coming to the end of the year. We're looking at a new board here in about 6 weeks. So with that, I would say, let's just keep it where it is. There's not much going on for negotiations from here till the end of the year. And let's let the new board decide whether they should be stipends kept on, if it's needed or not. I think we got it in play. We got finance person. I think, you know, we have the right people in play to negotiate our contracts, and let's play it out now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Thank you for coming this morning, and there will be another public comment opportunity at the end of this meeting. Any commissioner comments? That takes us then down to the first action item, the sheriff's office. Sheriff and the sheriff are here. Thank you.
We have 4 items for your all's consideration.
Is that Lewis or?
Well, The first ones are the clothing and gun allowances for the non-union employees, which I think is something annually that you need to approve so we can make the disbursements.
This is an annual request, right? That's consistent with the contractual employees that are under the sheriff and I supervision.
I support you getting new clothes, but do you need a new gun every year?
No, we don't need a new gun every year. It's for maintenance and equipment like night sights go bad. They have tritium in them. Night sights go bad, grips go bad. They get caught on seat belts. You get corrosion on
Okay,
screws.
so you're not necessarily getting a new gun.
It's not a new gun. It's maintenance of equipment, existing equipment. When we shoot a lot and when we, yeah.
My father had his gun for 50 years.
Yeah.
So I was wondering why you needed one.
When it was designed, and these have been along my whole career, it's also, I mean, all deputies are issued 4 firearms for the sheriff's office. It's also got to do with the responsibility and the 24/7, 365. When they're not working, they're responsible for that county property.
I get everything.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lautner?
Yes, I would move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the uniform and gun allowance for the non-union personnel, which is the sheriff, undersheriff, and marine deputies through payroll, which appropriate taxes withheld, with the appropriate taxes withheld. If receipts are not provided, funds to come from 101-225-301.703.742 and 101-225-331-703-742 as budgeted.
Support.
And moved and supported. All those, any further discussion? Yes.
I just would hope you're not buying a gun yearly for $250. You should have a better gun than that.
Yeah.
That's true too. That's true too.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you. Another one?
So the second one is jail related. It's a food service contract, which we have been with Canteen Services since the jail opened in 2005. The contract has expired, or at least they are looking for a change. Obviously, with inflation and food costs, their costs have gone up too. They are looking to change in the contract ranges from 3 cents to 17 cents a meal, depending on population. Based on the jail administrator, Lieutenant Roush's calculations, he figures that'll be roughly for us 8 to 10 cents a meal. Based on our population, probably about $6 to $7 a day would be the increase as a result of this contract change. One note, he did inform me in the recommendation for the motion, it neglected to say that it would also allow the board chair to sign the contract if approved. So
Maybe what?
that the board chair will sign the contract if approved. That didn't make the recommended motion.
Well, if you're moving it forward, that would be a next week's motion when they do it for next Monday night, so.
Have a motion for it, Commissioner Aguirre?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive board policy on bid requirements and approve 5-year agreement with Canteen Services, Inc. for inmate food service.
Or
Discussion? Commissioner Lautner?
Yeah, all in all, I think this sounds like a very fair contract considering what we all know, the cost of groceries that have been climbing the last few years. So all in all, I think this sounds like a really a good contract, and it takes us 5 years out,
It does, yes.
so it's fantastic.
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now we have a fingerprint scanner replacement.
This was not part of this kind of crept up on us. We maybe should have known better, but we've had this fingerprint scanner since the inception of the jail also. We were able to hobble through as operating systems have expired and we've moved to new ones. The IT has been able to keep it up, but this fingerprint scanner has started to experience some major issues. That is used for every person that comes into the jail to submit prints to not only the state, but the federal government. And without this, the jail cannot effectively book inmates. So we are asking kind of in an emergency fashion to purchase a new updated fingerprint scanner, which is about 15 years old. Usually they last 5 to 6, so obviously we've seen good return on the investment of the last one, but it's time to upgrade and replace to a new one.
Commissioner Rexroth?
Move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the purchase of a new live scan unit for Mighty Network for a quoted model of $10,298. Funds for purchase to be determined. I get what asked. We have room left in our fund balance forward for this small of a, I would make that part of my motion, that the funds come from our fund balance forward.
Support. Any discussion? Commissioner
Just
Lawler?
a quick question. This is the one that you said that's in the jail.
Correct.
So the other one in the lobby still,
Still fine, yes. That, if I'm not mistaken, the one in the lobby was replaced
I thought so.
2 or
Yeah.
3, probably 2 years ago, yes.
We say 2 years ago, it's probably 4. Right?
Yeah.
Probably, but yeah, recently.
We replaced it. Yeah, okay.
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion approved 6-0. And now we have recruits.
MCO's recruit. So previously last year, we talked to you about the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Officer Standards is now sponsoring recruits through the academy. So you approved that last year. The individual we had picked out did not make the threshold. We have a pretty high threshold to get in, did not make it, may still be considered in the future, but we lost basically a year in an employee. So we're down 2 employees right now. We had just backfilled one, just got off his FTO process. So we're down 1 employee now. We need to immediately hire someone, and we found a really good Leelanau County candidate, born and raised here, lives here, doesn't have the housing issues, is already an employee at the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office, wants to go from corrections to the road, and our NMC Academy would take that sponsorship. They did reduce the reimbursement from $24,000 a year down to $20,000 a year, but that's still a bargain for the recruit for the county. And we're in a dire straits in terms of employees. We may have anywhere from 3 to 5 road retirements next year, anywhere from 4 to 6 on the correction side, and we're just not getting applications in. People are not going into law enforcement, so we really need this recruit position.
Have a motion? Commissioner Lawler?
Yes, I would move to recommend to Leelanau County Board of Commissioners, allow the sheriff to proceed with an employed recruit and enter the Public Safety Academy Assistance Program / grant process with the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards in Northwest Michigan College for the Police Academy that starts January 27th, 2025. Funds from the grant to be placed in a special yet undetermined account and used to cover the costs associated with the academy and the hiring process. Support.
Commissioner Lawler?
Yeah, so I did notice the difference in the price from the last time we tried to do this. So you think that this candidate that you got in mind has already been through a lot of the police?
Went through, it's called LCOTS. For the correction side, it's LCOTS. For the road side, it's MCOS.
So there really shouldn't be any problem. You think it should, hopefully everything's going to sail right
It's a
through.
great physical shape, great attitude, smiles all the time. And when I interviewed him, said, what I'm looking for is someone who's friendly, treats people respectfully, and fits in our model of try to be as professional as possible. He fits all those categories.
Right. So it will cost us just a little bit more, but if we have a good candidate, but you're going to be out of, you're still going to be short of position until spring then?
We get that one filled. We're good until spring. And then we've got some anticipated retirements coming up on both corrections and
But
roadside.
if they go into this in January, it takes. 16
We're still going to
weeks.
be short. We'll be,
Okay.
right.
We're still going to be short until then.
This employee wouldn't be fully operational and independent till probably August.
Wow.
By the
Because
time
they
they
have the
finish-
FTO afterwards, the field training officer portion.
Okay, well, it's a start, so I can think that. Okay,
Anybody else?
I have one more question, but, good.
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
My question was, going this early, so this is only November, we're trying to get in January, we shouldn't have any problem getting state funds to help, are we already qualified?
Oh, we
Get those?
should be good, but it's a pool. They
Yep.
put it in a pool and at the end of the year, it's gone. So for the August Academy, I wouldn't bet too much on that. I mean, hope it's still there, they'll reimburse it. But it starts the first of the year, so when it does for this academy, it's a better chance we get it now than in August.
But when will we know for sure?
Is next Tuesday when,
So it's only a 18-month-old program.
Yeah.
Some agencies have known as quick as before they even start the academy. Some are, it all depends on their first come, first serve.
Yep.
I have zero concerns about not getting the grant for this January academy.
Good. All right, that's what I want. Thank you.
thank you for all your support of our operations. I know nationally, we don't always get it as law enforcement officers, but I'm always proud of the board and the people of this community who support us. Thank you. Appreciate it.
While we wait for Mr. Answer,
Why don't we wait for my next person here? Okay. Let's see here. Is our person with the veteran services here?
yes,
Why don't we just skip down to number 5 until Matt gets here?
everybody okay with that, board?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. Next one is an update to the contract with Grand Traverse County relating to veteran services. You can find that on page 105.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. We're all finding our place because we just skipped.
No rush.
Do you want the motion?
Got it here.
I just found it.
Yes, Commissioner Butler.
Yes, I recommend approval of the contract between Leelanau County and Grand Traverse Veterans Affairs from 2025 through 2028 for an annual cost of $56,618.
Support.
I was on the board when we created this partnership with Grand Traverse County, and I've never heard a single complaint. And I've heard a lot of really positive things about what you do personally, so I thank you for that. And this is really good for to have someone out here in the county where it's just much more convenient or comfortable for some of our veterans. It's just been a great thing. I appreciate that.
Thank you for saying that. Chris, who's here every Tuesday, I get a lot of compliments about his service. He does a great job. So thank you for saying that.
Any other questions? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And thank you. And thank you to Steve Stanton, who is our representative to your committee. And he speaks highly of it.
Good, good. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Okay, we're going to skip back down to emergency management, and our administrator says he's handling it.
Yeah.
What page do we go back to?
Let's go back to page 30, please.
So.
Okay, based on the first one is a current lease that we have with the
Yeah.
with Verizon. It was located at the Maple City Tower. As it states in the overview, they are changing their model to go to be aligned with the 5G services to the customer base. This means they got to change out some of the equipment on the tower. And we have an amendment to that contract with them. This is for your awareness. And we would like to, I think what they're trying to do is we're updating the addresses to send notices with a copy to certain folks. We're updating the exhibits B and C as it relates to the equipment modifications. And I don't think there's any other changes in here, but it's more just to keep our current contract up to date. I don't believe we are amending to extend this contract further than 15 original lease, and they'll have to come back later on. So that's basically it. So basically, they're improving their services to their customers. So
Commissioner Extra?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the First Amendment to Tower Space Lease Agreement for Verizon at the Maple City Tower sites and authorize the County Board Chairman to sign the agreement.
Support.
And my understanding of this motion, as I look through this, is that there's no cost to us. This is them updating equipment. And the only pertinent point really is that Matt has decided, since the loading on the tower, he hasn't upcharged, he's changed. He's actually charging them the same lease amount as it was before, but the net effect is our citizens get better service.
Wanna come up? Are you covering for Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you wanna come up? We've got a couple of questions.
Hands out.
So, yeah, we know now.
Want to come to the table?
Not really.
We kind of gathered that.
We got we just finished the Verizon one, and it appears looking at the AT&T one, it's the same conditions.
Well, we need to vote on the.
Yeah, I had a question as well.
Commissioner Lauder?
Well, so with the amendment, so this is a 3-year,
Correct.
okay? And for $15,829, is that less than what it was because it's lighter equipment?
That's correct. It's different equipment. So some of it is being replaced or not being replaced. And then some of the other stuff is being replaced with lighter equipment. So the load on the tower isn't as much, which doesn't generate as much.
Okay, so how much of an impact is, I don't know what it was the last time we negotiated this contract, but how much less are we going to bring in? Because that,
If I'm reading the motion, it specifically says he has not pursued a change in the rental figures. So
There's
specifically what this says. So it doesn't sound like they're going down. You're just not going.
correct. He doesn't want, they're not renegotiating because it would end up
okay,
being a lower rent than what we receive now.
okay,
So
okay,
we're
so
not-
it doesn't have the accelerator that it had before because it's lighter equipment.
Correct. And that was the issue with resetting those contracts, which Mr. Townsend was working through to
Okay.
not reset the contract. And
So in a way, it will impact, because other costs are going to continue to go up, but it sort of will impact what we use those tower funds for in the future, because the funds will stay stagnant then, basically.
I'm not sure that either. If I read this, it's whatever escalators are in there, he's not changing a single
He's not
thing.
changing.
The escalators stay the same too?
correct.
Everything stays, the only two items that are changing is who we send any updates to, which is instead of saying, we're sending to Alltel Corporation doing business as Verizon Wireless,
Okay,
and who we send a copy to. We're also updating the equipment that's going to be on the tower. Other than that, other terms and conditions remain, so nothing else
okay,
changes.
so is it, does AT&T, that one?
The
we're going to jump
AT&T
to-
one, there's changes, yes,
The AT&T one is the one, so the amendments are, both amendments are different amendments.
correct.
Okay,
This one, all we're doing is letting them put better equipment on it.
Okay.
That's all there is to this
And
one.
we're making
Correct.
note of it in the current contract that there has been a change in the equipment.
okay. All right, very
Correct.
good.
So we're on the Maple City Tower, motion on the floor.
Verizon Maple City Tower, yes.
Verizon is the same.
All
Okay.
those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Now we have an AT&T.
AT&T is there, according to this, they're making their modification for equipment on Maple City on Lemony. I didn't spell the name of that little town first. In the Northport Tower sites, these modifications align with their business model to expand the 5G service to their customer base. The equipment is modified, their lease agreement for each contract will be needed in order to update the equipment. For both AT negotiated, our attorneys and AT attorneys have negotiated the First Amendment. And in that amendment, I'm reading through this as fast as I can. And we're going through. What's being changed is the exhibits as it relates to the tower items in the second. We already have a first, we're amending the Second Amendment. The term is expanded to.
Essentially, what they want to do is, the board has always agreed to 15-year terms. The cell carrier is like a 50-year term. What Matt was doing was when there were renegotiations, they would reset the start date. So, starting in 2012, if they renegotiated, say in 2022, then the reset date started from 2022 when that term continued on. What Mr. Townsend recommended to clear the water up is to keep the original term. And then as renewals are done, if they are extensions, that it's tacked on to the end of that, but that initial term stays at 2012 as opposed to leapfrogging up above. So it continues to be a 15-year term, but if we want to extend it a little bit, you all can approve that if you'd like.
Let's get a motion on the table and then we'll see if there are any questions. Commissioner Rexroth?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the third amendment to tower space lease agreement for AT&T at Maple City, Omita, and Northport Tower sites pending final approval from legal counsel, and authorize the county board chairman to sign the amendments.
Support.
Any further discussion?
So even though it's lighter equipment, there's no change to the rental figures?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this appears to be exactly the same one we just did.
Correct.
All right.
I think it looks like that there's ways that you can amend this for the future to keep the 15-year lease in place at all times.
That's correct.
Okay.
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. 911 radio consoles, Kelly.
So we've always had a maintenance contract with our radio consoles and some of the towers that are on the state network. The last annual fee for that was, I believe, $22,000. So in renegotiating contracts with Motorola, they came back with the next 3-year contracts as $48,000 starting out yearly. As we were talking with them, Matt about fell out of his chair when that figure came out. He spent a couple months working on Motorola, trying to work that out, and ended up getting them talked back to $30,000. And they have since agreed with that, with then terms starting the first year at $30,000, second year $31,800, and then the third year $33,700. This comes after the COVID increases in that, so it's been seen across the board with a lot of our maintenance. This is where we're at now. They've dropped down to 30,000. I think that's pretty good from where we were. So to speak.
Should have started at 150 then.
Yeah.
I would move to recommend the County Board of Commissioners approve the 3-year contract with Motorola Solutions for the maintenance of the 911 dispatch radio consoles and NICE radio recorder equipment, and authorize the board chair to sign the contract. I'd like to add extraneous to that.
Could we get a second and then you can, then, okay, now Commissioner O'Carroll.
Well, good for Mr. Ed Sorky for getting them back down,
Oh, for sure.
and bad on them for taking advantage and reaping huge profits off of all of us.
And part of that is you're required by the state to have these annual maintenance contracts. We've explored options of not having that and kind of having a pay as you go, but we're told you have to have that maintenance contract to be on the statewide radio network. And the statewide radio network is what all of our law enforcement, fire, EMS talk on. If we have a large incident and we have people coming in, that network allows other counties, other jurisdictions to be able to come onto our radio network and even allow us to get special event channels so that all can talk on one channel and just assist with communications across the board.
I agree, we need it.
Mhm.
I don't agree with the road. We need to make that work.
I do, yes.
Commissioner O'Carroll.
Now, this is a broken record for me, but I would highly suggest going to competitive bidding process for the next process. They came right out, and I mean, just if someone would have thought we'd be paying double, so please.
We have looked at other options for recording equipment. We're being on the statewide network, Motorola is the vendor that we have, so.
They're the only ones that can be certified to service those.
Correct.
We've been discussing this for 30 years, and it's been a thorn in my side for 30 years because they've got us where they want us. We can't get out from underneath them. I would like to see it in the future because I would like to see that competitive bidding, but then This is the problem.
Yeah.
You know, once it's in service, you got licensing and,
We are doing everything we can.
yeah, it's not.
All those in support of the.
I had one.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
801, you're recommending to come out at 801, so we'll probably have that in our motion for Tuesday night. And NICE stands for,
I don't know if it's an acronym, to be honest with you.
oh, they're just nice radios.
It's nice recording equipment,
NICE.
NICE, correct.
Or something, you'll let us know.
I will find out for you, yes.
Okay. It's in the motion, I really think it should be spelled out, I generally,
It says nice.
it just says nice.
It's nice.
It's nice to push the radio and talk to someone.
Capitalized.
Really?
Nice, okay.
Any
I'm
other,
just saying they're nice.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And we hope that your boss is enjoying a.
I hope he is too.
Andrew.
The breast metal.
Next, we have the equalization, update to the equalization report update. As a result of the.
Hi, Andrew.
Good morning. So last month, I came before you to present the apportionment report, and at the time I made the caveat that there were 4 millage proposals, millage requests that were going to be put before the voters this past election. So we knew that there was going to be revision. At this point, we don't have official results. So the apportionment report, the apportionment report that is in your packet reflects the unofficial results.
They all passed, correct?
Correct, yes. So the apportionment report needs to be revised and submitted to the state of Michigan by December 1st. So there's no reason that you need to take action today. We could wait until we had official results and take action.
But we just kick it to the regular session.
Correct.
Then we should have.
Yeah.
Well, in this motion, all we're doing is recommending to move it to the next session for next Tuesday night.
That's
So
correct.
at that time, we would have it. So these are what is anticipated to be the final. So I would just go ahead with the motion to move it forward to the next meeting. That's all you're doing.
So moved. Nice.
Moving second, any questions?
And if there's any updates, hopefully they will be the official.
Perfect.
Enough Charter City Schools to turn it down, could you find those votes too?
So, yeah, to be clear, the motion was to move this forward to the regular session meeting.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much. I'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
May not need to be, Andrew.
Next item.
We'll see, you may not need to.
Oh,
This evening.
I'm happy to be.
Okay.
Okay, you have a request in here from the county clerk, which is following a request from the chief deputy county clerk to purchase 6 months of additional time, which this body or the county has done on numerous occasions with other employees. This purchase cost will be $12,785. It will be paid by the employee. And it will be a resolution that you will need to adopt next week in order to finalize and move this forward. So it's pretty simple. County has this as a practice that they do, that the employee so wishes to pay what it's going to take. So there you go.
Michelle, you want to speak to it before we get a motion in?
I just walked at the end and it sounded like he explained it just fine. It said her total cost, and it's 6 months of prior service credit from the road commission.
Commissioner
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve by resolution that Jennifer L. Zwicky be authorized to purchase 6 months of other governmental service credit from MERS as described in the application for additional service credit purchase at a cost of approximately $12,785 to be paid by salary.
Support.
Would you change that to move to recommend?
Yeah, there's not a move in there.
I move
I
to
move to
recommend.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now have a number of senior services agreements. Oh,
Pardon my voice as I work through all this.
It's that time of year where all these agreements have to be taken care of.
Yeah, all but one of them are renewals, so you've seen them before. The first one is for Linda Lingar, and she takes care of our foot care services through her salon here or in Lake Leelanau. She did respond to the RFP that was closed and awarded on May 22nd. So she was a part of the RFP.
Commissioner Elliott.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve the renewal of a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Linda Lindauer, DBA Linda Lee Care and Nails, and foot care services at a rate of $35 per service, beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2026.
Support.
Discussion. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now we're on to the Flowers Health Services.
This is in the same manner. She responded to the RFP in May. So I'm asking for a renewal. And this is for medication management, sorry.
Commissioner Lautner.
Yes, I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the renewal of a contract agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Flower Health Services LLC to provide medication management services at a rate of $37.50 an hour, per 15 minutes. An hour would be a little bit, okay. With a 3% increase each year, beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2026. Support.
Any discussion?
I was just really heartened by the fact that our seniors, when they are really needing this service and probably alone and lonely and needing help, that they're getting it. Sounds like she's very heartfelt.
She does. She's been doing this since 2007, and she has a lot of great relationships with our seniors.
Good.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now we have one with the Health Department of Northwest Michigan.
This is for dental services. This was not part of an RFP. They do discounted services, dental services through Dental Clinics North in Traverse City. And what the contract is for maintenance dental care, because Medicare doesn't cover dental. So Dental Clinics North, they accept vouchers from our department to provide cleaning twice a year.
Mr. Russ.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy and renew a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and the Department of Northwest Michigan to provide dental services through Dental Clinics North beginning January 1st, 25, December 31st, 26. Funds to come from account 281-00000-801.014.
Support. Any discussion, Commissioner Lautner?
Is this the same as last year?
Yes, it's just the amount per initial unit and future maintenance changed slightly.
Okay, still, and we stayed within our budget for that last year?
Yes.
2024 so
Yes.
far?
Yes.
Just a question on that. The Benzie Leelanau Health Department is splitting off of the Northwest Michigan Health Board in 6 months. I think between now and next week, we ought to check with Dodie at the Health Department and see if there's any implications for that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now the Leelanau County Family Coordinating Council.
This is for the Leelanau Laundry Project for anyone in need, and we reimbursed them $2,000 for seniors to be able to do their laundry at the laundromat in Sutton's Bay.
Commissioner Alger?
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners waive its bid policy and renew a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and the Leelanau County Family Coordinating Council totaling $2,000 to provide support for the Leelanau Laundry Project beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2026. Funds to come from 281-0000000801-000 contractual services.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. And now we have the one on the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency.
This is for our Meals on Wheels program that delivers frozen meals to seniors in our county who are homebound.
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners waive its bid policy and renew a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency totaling $75 Meals on Wheels to seniors in Leelanau County beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2026. Funds to come from 281-0000000801-008 Meals on Support.
Discussion.
I just have a question. I see that this program does not test for income or assets or.
Correct. It's based on need. And the requirement is homebound, that they're not able to get out and get meals themselves.
I guess I think it's a great program for those that need it, but it seems odd that we would supply meals to someone that might have a net worth of 5 million who just can't get out and has other means to do that.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they have the means to be able to fix their own meal in their home. It's to any senior. I don't know what their criteria looks like when they do an assessment.
Just because you have a lot of money, that's the only service there is to get a meal every day. Most people don't get it.
Commissioner Lawler?
I do have a comment and a concern also, but Kathy has something to share, maybe you can cover it before I ask it.
All of the recipients of Meals on Wheels also get a letter from Meals saying if they would like to contribute to the cost, they're given a rough estimate of what it is costing for that program to come to their home. And many people that have means do contribute back. My aunt took advantage of it in California. And she had the means, but she couldn't shop, she couldn't cook. So she would just write a check each month and reimburse the program for the cost. So, and I think there's a sample of that letter in your packet.
There is.
Okay.
That's good. Thank
Thank you, Kathy.
Commissioner Russ and then Commissioner Lawler.
And we've also heard from that the connection between the person who delivers the meal and the person in need is huge.
It's
So
their safety checks.
connection to community is so important. Thank you. Yes, yes.
Commissioner Lawler?
I've seen both sides of this program, and it does some absolutely wonderful things for a lot of people for some different aspects. But the other side I've seen of this is, for example, the nice lady who comes and presents, always says a really cute story, but a couple of times I've known those people she talked about, even though she didn't call them by name personally. And I know it was way off base. And I do know one in particular, that the freezer was chocked full of the meals. They just were never eaten. It was really ended up being quite wasteful. So whatever aspect that was serving for that person, I don't know, maybe there were other aspects, but it was very wasteful. I don't know how to get past it. I don't know how to get around that. But I think there could be some work done on who does receive them. Because if it's anything more than checking on a person, that can be done in a different way.
You know what, you brought that up 2 years ago. You haven't gone and talked to him.
It's not my decision to do so.
Is that Fraser still?
In fact, I don't sit on senior services, but I did bring up this concern. Do you sit on senior services? Somebody does. That's a concern they should have brought to, because they serve on that board. I don't serve on that board.
Commissioner Ristro.
I just want to clarify, I don't want, I mean, it's a great program and we need to serve our seniors that are in need. My comments are not to say that we should provide for those in need. So, I mean, if there's not a method, there's not a method. But I do want to support the program for those that need it. And I think there's just maybe no way to divide it out, but it just seems a little odd. But I'll support.
Commissioner Ogden, you.
Just moving there.
Oh, okay. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Shared care of Leelanau, page 37.
1 second. This agreement renewal is for their volunteer coordination that they do through Share Care Leelanau, and it also includes the wellness program that we started the beginning of this year, 2024.
Get a moment, yes, Commissioner Ogden.
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners waive its bid policy for a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Shared Care of Leelanau for the following services beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2026. Volunteer coordination and transportation services up to $56,000 and wellness programming up to $44,000. Funds to come from 281-000-801-001 Share Care.
Support.
Discussion, Commissioner Butler.
Yeah, I see these come through and through claims and accounts, and it's like transportation, et cetera. And does that fall in with the last program you were just talking about, the wellness, perhaps?
Not Share Care or the transportation piece?
Transportation.
No.
Transportation needs. So I know at the same time Beta has expanded their services to a door-to-door. Are these situations where Beta doesn't work for? Because I know you also work with Beta passes, that sort of thing. Are those examples? Are we doing private transportation to doctor appointments where Beta doesn't work for that individual?
It's up to the individual. It's their choice. When they call for a transportation need, we provide what's available and we make the referral out to, we either give them Beta's number. It's difficult to maneuver that, but, or make a referral to Share Care or Comfort Keepers, who provides medical transportation.
How did we stay, what was the budget last year for Share Care?
For this, last year was 2023 was 56,000. It just covered the.
Then we added the wellness.
Correct.
Are we within the budget?
We are so far. When I drafted the EDS, we were around 38,000 spent so far.
You're, I know it kind of got out of control there for a while with some that maybe were not income qualified to use the services. You got all that back under control. I think they were allowed to finish.
The wellness program and the Share Care is not income asset tested.
No, the other.
For our in-home services and financial,
Yeah.
yes, we continue as we are.
Okay. For policy.
Correct.
Okay.
Other. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. And agreement with Catholic Human Services.
So I spoke to you at the budget meeting in regards to Catholic Human Services. We previously had an agreement with them that ended in 2006. We can help fill the gap of respite care in our county through their volunteers that they have, and also provide seniors rides to grocery stores that our transportation doesn't currently cover. and other needs.
Mr. Russ?
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners create its bid policy and approve to enter into a contractual agreement between Leelanau County Senior Services and Catholic Human Services, Inc. for the senior companion program beginning January 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2026 for up to $8,000. Funds to come to 281-000-801-006.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Lautner?
Is this, we have respite through other programs as well,
It's income and asset tested.
and this one is not income and asset tested?
Correct.
Because it's done through the volunteers, so it just covers a little bit, I mean, it's not a large amount of dollars.
And it's not gonna help. We're probably looking at maybe 4 to 6 seniors at the moment, because I know they have 2 senior volunteers in our county.
Oh, just 2?
Yeah.
Okay. I know the respite is such an important service. So how, will you still, you had to pull some from your fund balance for 2024?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Mm-mm.
Are you expected to for 2025?
I think that total was 70.
How close are we?
If they need to use fund balance, it's budgeted at $77,000.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And how is our fund balance sitting for senior services?
I think it's in the 600,000 range, so it's about 50% of their budget, if I'm recalling correctly.
Any other questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. And now, for out-of-state travel request to Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, I would like the opportunity to attend the American Society on Aging. Last year we sent Gail Carlson. This year I'd like the opportunity to go to that national conference.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, you gotta get there.
Page 286.
Takes a while.
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners approve Lena Mullen, director, to attend the American Society on Aging 2025 conference to be held April 21st and 24th in Orlando, Florida. Funds to come from the Senior Services Education and Medical Council.
Support.
Discussion. Mr. Richard?
Just, I mean, we have to trust you on this, and you feel that the value of the information that they get is supported by the cost of this trip.
Yeah, Gail got a lot out of it last year. I'd like to make my own determination on that. I think it's great to connect with different states on what they're doing.
Any other questions, comments? All those in support of Commissioner Russ?
With our aging population in Leelanau County, I think it's super important for you to attend this and help support the greatest segment of our population.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. When you were there, suggest that next year they have it in Kentucky or something.
Yeah.
Traverse City or something. Why not?
Are you taking the family?
No.
Don't worry.
I need to get away.
I don't want anyone else knowing about this.
And,
Kingsley.
Yes. Yeah, let's we'll all take a 5-minute break and Melinda will take 10.
I'd like 10.
Okay.
I'll take 10.
We'll take a
You
10-minute
take 5. I'll take 10.
I don't make the motion.
Similar action. None of us. So, but okay, well, you're on it. Have an They have. I wanted to be here.
Well, I'm here.
So.
Especially. Maybe I would say. Listen to the high
So she brings
I don't think so. Yeah,
Within the company, they didn't even
Well, the reason I asked, I was
Are my 10 minutes up? I think my 10 minutes
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Okay. We'll come back to order and we were down to item number 7 on our agenda.
Sure. This is in regards to the Affordable Care Act, the 1095C requirement by the government that we file each year, where we declare that we have coverage for our employees, et cetera. Everybody gets a nice form in the mail. We have contracted with Raymond over the years to provide this service to us. We give them the data, they put it together. They're the ones that have the expertise. In-house, we would have to have so much continuing education to be able to stay on top of this. It's just a risk that can be mitigated by hiring professionals. So I'm just asking for a contract.
Mr. Lautner?
Yes, I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners waive the bid policy and approve the service agreement with Raymond Robson LLC for services as outlined in the agreement. Funds to come from the Board of Commissioners contractual services 101-100-101-801-000.
Support.
Discussion? Yes,
The
Commissioner.
old beaten record on bidding and continuing using the same people forever. I know you need the service. I don't think this probably has a choice, but we need to look at another option and have a competitive look at this sooner than later. I was overridden last time on this, but I still say what I say. So
Technically, you didn't even have to go out for business this with your policy that you amended back in March. You have checked or March.
May.
You know, this doesn't meet the $10,000 threshold that we would not have gone after bid, maybe 3 quotes. But yeah, so anyway.
yeah, understood.
Mr. Lautner?
Well, thank you for the explanation, Kathy. I made a point to try to explain this every year. This is a $5,700 cost that's come to us every year since the Affordable Care Act, and it's unnecessary as far as I'm concerned, but there it is. Got to do it.
Any other discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Now we are down to Gail. Hi, Gail.
Good morning. What I have today for your approval, hopefully, is the tire agreement with ERG. We are gonna have 2 collections again next year, same as we always have done. Collect a $2 fee per tire to help offset some of the cost. We also are looking to get a 2% fund. And we will be applying for a grant through the state, like we've always done in the past. The contract is the same as it's been, costs will remain the same.
Mr. Rush.
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners approve the tire recycling amendment number 4 with PRG for 2025 as submitted.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. We're on page 297 of our board packet.
This is our agreement with Bark for our mattress recycling collections. Again, the costs are gonna remain the same for next year, and we'll have 2 collections again.
Mr. Russ.
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners approve the 2025 mattress recycling agreement with Bay Area Recyclers for community as submitted.
Support.
Any discussion?
Because so it would be $10 a mattress for the first 100 mattresses. Then after that it goes.
Yeah, it's wait, yeah.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0.
Thank you.
Now we have a Parks and Recreation public hearing.
As you may be aware, we have a draft 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan that's up for review by the public for the next 30 days. It's been reviewed by the Parks and Rec Commission. Some amendments were made to it. So the latest draft that was finalized on Friday is out on the web, on our website. It's out on the web. It's out there for review. We do have hard copies in the administrator's office for people that want to come in and look at it and review it. The next step that needs to be done is by the chief administrative office of the board of the county, which is you folks. We need to set a public hearing on that master plan. And it is recommended that we do so on December 17th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
Prior to the regular session.
Prior to the regular session. So that's what our motion is that you do, and we'll take it from there.
Commissioner Retro.
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners set a public hearing on the Leelanau County Parks and Recreation Plan, February 2025, with the date December 17th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the County Commission Chambers Government Center.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Kathy, we have our budget rules.
Sure.
On page 310 of our board packet.
I did include the red line version so that if you wanted to do a side-by-side, that would be for your convenience. On page 311, basically, the board has indicated chief financial officer is not your goal, so that is a line out in item number 3. There are no significant changes to that page. Other than that, from previous years. Yes.
I kind of wondered if we shouldn't spend a little bit more time like on these than what we're going to do here at this executive meeting, but.
Sure.
I can kind of see, I just would like to see a coordination, like you got capital purchases of $5,000 we take. But that one will still go through the finance department, but the next one, so this is service contracts, does our new county administrator will be able to approve those or sign those service contracts, and they won't go to finance or to the board? No? How?
Everything goes to the finance department, because we got to make sure that it's been budgeted. If it hasn't been budgeted, then it's gotta come back
That's my
here.
concern, exactly.
Yeah, that's
That-
exactly, if it's not been budgeted, you know, it's one of the things that's there, if nothing has been budgeted. Like if something were, well, let's just take like the fingerprint, that had not been planned or budgeted. So
Right.
we couldn't approve that even if it was $1. We need to come back to you to talk to you about it so you can approve it. So
that's in
everything's
the
assumed here
10,000.
that it's
Okay.
been approved in
All right.
budget. So, and that's what we did, and that's what I'm saying, anything that goes above $4,500 to $999, we gotta get 3 written quotes, so that's in the file, it's not competitive bidding, it's still getting quotes from 3 competitors to say, yes, here's what we can do this for, we're gonna do that. It would be up to the administrator, if they felt like if this was a normal operational thing, yeah, we've been doing it for 20 years, that'd be one thing, but if it's something that the administrator feels uncomfortable with, it's the administrator's right to bring it to you for approval. So we leave those options open. Anything over $10,000 has to go out for competitive bid, whether it's been budgeted or it hasn't been budgeted. And there is a process how this got to work. You know, if we're going to go out for bids, it has to come to you first before we can even write the bid policy.
All right, make sure we
So that's
understand
the
that.
plan.
Yeah, and I agree with the comments. I'm just curious that I just don't see that delineated in here, that those first 3 items only apply if they're in order to budget. I don't see that verbiage in there. Or am I missing that? I'm glad if someone could help me find that, but I don't see
Well,
it.
we will look it up, and if for some reason we have missed it, but that's always an assumption that it is. If it hasn't been budgeted, we can't do it. You've approved the budget.
It does say subject to approval by the Board of Commissioners through regular monthly claims and payment process. Claims
But the money would
are,
have already been spent at that
Yeah, that's like
point,
an
so
after
that's
the
really a little
fact.
bit late to approve it after the. I would just ask for that clarification there, that
Okay.
up to $9,999, all of these only apply to previously budgeted items.
Can we just add that right now? Or?
I want to see it. You can bring it back to us.
I could bring it
Yeah,
back
you can
next
bring
week.
it back. I
because
mean,
I'm
it's
just gonna
It's a
add-
minor change. but,
I'm gonna add it to number 14 as, you know, and budgeted.
So could I have a,
budget, so.
could I have a motion to move it forward to next week?
What do
The only
we
other
want to continue the review and get all of the?
Yeah.
Is there anything else from Kathy, go through the rest of the stuff? Maybe we can
sure.
do
I was,
that.
I was thinking about this first one as we're talking about it, that are responsible for assuring your department heads and your elected officials agree to the Appropriations Act. So they are bound by their budgets. And that they don't exceed their, the budgets that have been approved by you. And they can authorize expenditures up to $4,500 per item. But those items come to you in claims and accounts, which means they're not you know, it might be they bought a desk or a filing cabinet and it's $1,200. That is not that's not a Friday check. That comes to claims and you can reject it and we would package up that filing cabinet and send it back. I mean,
Assuming they'll take that back, I mean,
Well,
it's been in use, I mean, that's most places.
we
will
sent a
not.
drinking fountain back, so.
But that was an agreement with them to begin with, on a drinking fountain, it was a test basis, it wasn't
Yeah.
like we put it up and,
But again,
it's a very minor thing to clarify something.
Kathy brought it up. The very first sentence under number 1 says it. Department heads and or elected officials are responsible for ensuring that expenditures do not exceed approved budgets for their respective departments. It's there, but it won't hurt to add it under number 14 again, just to reassure.
doesn't
Just
talk
as a
about the
clarification.
three
I got
codes.
clarification.
It doesn't talk about the 3 codes though, right? That was the other.
Then
I
number,
guess
Yes.
one's in there.
As Kathy was going through this, the main thing we, and I'll ask Kathy a little bit too, is when we adopted this in March, when you made this revision in March, the idea was still to have a county administrator, CFO. Main thing we took out is anything that says CFO, we just took it out, because you have changed that desire. The other thing is in number 10. And right now you have budget amendments take place after the executive board. Well, technicality, you really do that after your regular board meeting. That's when it's officially approved. Executive, you're just recommending moving things forward in a lot of cases. So that's the only thing that we would do that at the executive, at your am I right, Kathy, at the regular meeting instead of at the executive today, so. So that's the only other major change that we have that we've made from the previous documents.
And also it's May, actually, I think, when these changes happened to the 25 or the 24 budget was in May. We clarified that there is no accounting department. It's a finance department. So you'll see accounting is struck through.
That's when we created the finance department.
Correct. And just going through, everything on page 1 is basically the same as you adopted for 24. And if you didn't follow Richard on number 10, I have my voice. I'll let you know that when I do budget amendments for you, they're presented at regular. It would be very tough for me to get to executive, and the rule has been we've kind of pushed that rule a little bit. So I just asked for it to be at regular meeting, approved by resolution. And then, let's see. Rental charges, then in May, number 14 was inserted. This is new, but you did approve it in May. So if you want to look at it again, that's up to you. And going further, if you want to stop at something, just let me know. But 18, you did adopt new per diem rates for 25 at 120 for a full day or 70 for a half day.
So wasn't the yearly, the salary change also, is that need to be in here?
That is not a part of this document.
But it was changed.
It was changed though, and it is budgeted. We laid that into your proposed budget.
Okay, as long as it doesn't have to be here. Yes.
Right.
Anything else before we take a motion to move it forward to next week and
Only on
clean up?
16, yeah, there's within the spending authorities, so for signing documents, everything else has to come to the Board of Commissioners for authority to sign. So if it's less than their spending authority, they can sign a document.
That's
This, if I could just expand on this, this came about before Richard too. We had contracts for special services for the Sheriff's Department to provide law enforcement for special events. And because the sheriff and his staff, their approach to have deputies provide services for the Sleeping Bear Run or the Kielbasa Run or whatever, it was very timely that those be signed with those individuals. And I think this kind of came about because of that contract, that the administrator would be able to work with the sheriff and sign those contracts because they were a timely situation. So that's kind of where this started, and it morphed into this. And Chairman Wessel did encourage me to use my voice. And I do have a little concern with this because it has been expeditious for Richard to be able to help us get our feet on the ground during this period of waiting for an administrator to be hired. I still think that the board should review contracts before they're signed. Maybe put a limit on it, which is outlined in your grid. Because contracts do indebt and put the county into a contractual relationship with terms.
And I don't just disagree with that, but if you follow the grid, if you wanted someone to come up here and they're gonna spend $800 to buy a widget, and all of a sudden we gotta wait 3 weeks to bring a contract to you because we have to sign a contract, do you want to hold that up to do that? And it goes the same thing with the other widgets. Anything over $10,000, that's a whole different ballgame. And again, if your administrator feels uncomfortable in signing that contract, that's always within their prerogative to bring to this board for final approval. I mean, this is a common practice in municipal practice. So this is what we do. So that's why you hire people who are competent to do this kind of stuff. So, but that's why we have the limits in here and the discretion of what we can do, such as anywhere from $4,500 to $9,000. The administrator has to get the final approval, not the department.
You know, and I appreciate that, and I understand that it's a common practice, but generally here in Leelanau, we've run a little bit tighter ship than some of our other counties, neighboring counties, and it served us very well. So while something looks simple enough, or really, you know, it looks free, but then when you dig into it, well, there are costs associated. So it's more of a situation of making sure the Board of Commissioners is fully informed so that they can look for or at least be aware of what might be coming down the road and associated costs. Bigger than that, for me, has been associated precedents set. Those are what got you in trouble. And like I say, we've always held a lot tighter ship. So most of the time, there's plenty of time to bring it, right? If it's an emergency situation, I think there's another clause in there where it gives the administrator authority to act. But probably 98% of the time, there's plenty of time to bring it to the board. And I just think that that's a really important thing to do. If somebody's going to be signing on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, they should be approving it. So that is all. You know, I don't know if that could be worded in a different way too. It's not just a spending authority. Sometimes something might not even look like it's got a cost associated.
So Commissioner Warner, are you referring to the $4,500 to $999
I'm
contract?
really talking to number 16
No,
and
16, because it's kind of covered there as well, so.
yeah, but
related.
it really isn't, because it just, if there's no
Well,
cost, that's the problem. So I had always understood, we always had done it for us, that all contracts and agreements had to be approved by Board of Commissioners before they're signed, period. And this, you know, doesn't really look like, because we've had a couple of those recently.
So I have this question to our administrator. I mean, there's a difference between a contract and a purchase order or a purchasing agreement. I think therein maybe lies the definition Mr. Lover's trying to dive into, or maybe even.
Well,
Yeah,
purchasing
I mean,
agreements are a little bit different though. That's,
well,
you know, you're.
Contract, the language says contract agreements. If you were to strike contract that and agreements, purchase agreements, then they can carry on the business on the widget thing that administrator's talking about. And
I'll look at it further. I'm gonna dig into it.
If you looked at the language that was struck back in May, you know, it still had the county administrator having the authority to authorize expenditures up to $10,000 up to certain items, so it's up to you, in my opinion, that, and there's just one opinion that's sitting here. You know, we're trying to get your work done, and you have a department heads that are saying, I gotta wait, we need to get this moving. Well, I can't do anything.
And we've lectured them before on calendars too. I mean, yours, Richard, when you were still probably in Kentucky, we had that problem where year after year, we would have one or two department heads or elected officials that wouldn't watch their calendar. And all of a sudden they'd be flying in on regular board night, not even this time tonight, because they weren't watching their calendar. So that was why those were.
And I agree, they need to watch them.
Yeah, they need to watch them, we need to watch them, they need to come before the board commission.
Everybody needs to
That is
watch
all.
it, but that's where if you come up and see something, that's why you have a county administrator who question that individual. So especially when you have to review all of the accounts and claims.
It needs, the department heads have to have
Right.
that level of responsibility.
So Kathy and Richard, you've heard suggestions and concerns. If we move it forward and see a little editing, could clean that up and we'll deal with it next week.
I think number 16, if we did, as Chairman Rexroth mentioned, purchase agreements. But the contracts, though, you did approve the sheriff's special contract for events. You specifically approved that document. So could you be used as a blanket document? And that would be something the administrator could sign without bringing, because you approved the blanket document, because we just insert the event and the dates, the event and the dates, and that would help expedite their negotiations with our communities for law enforcement. So I don't, if we strike contract, that makes me nervous because we have an approval for that contract specifically.
Yeah, we can work through it.
Sure.
And try and come up with something that addresses the concerns that doesn't handcuff.
Handcuff.
Well, you're familiar with the operations, what it takes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that we need to respect the role of our administrator to let things flow.
So looking forward to a motion to move it forward.
So
any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Yep. And just a reminder, the letter M at the end of that document, any emergency claim is authorized by the county administrator requiring payment prior to the next commissioner's meeting. You know, he does have that ability. That's not even a strike through. The administrator's office has had the ability in an emergency.
But therefore, in there lies the difference, and that's why that's written.
An emergency does not constitute they missed the calendar.
Bingo. Right, so. Administrator, you do have some.
Emergency does not excuse missing the calendar.
And Kathy, we have
Yeah.
the resolution here. Do we want to address that?
Sure, you, for next week, this is your Appropriations Act resolution. I think that there isn't many strike throughs on here, if there are any at all. We did insert the millage rates in the middle of page 321. We took those right from the L 4029. And those are the millage rates that fund the budget, proposed budget.
All I could find other than that was dates.
And dates was on the strike through. Yeah, pretty much all that. And then I think we cleaned up when Richard came on board and I became a direct report to the administrator. I think we cleaned up county administrator is reappointed as chief administrative officer for the Accounting Act, so. I think that's it.
You don't need a motion on that.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, we now need to set a date for committee of the whole, or committee of the whole session for recommendations of boards and commissions.
1 year is your, I know that traditionally you try to do this at the end of November, but you know that I know that 2 members of this body will be out of town at a commission, so we're recommending that we do this at a special session, or we may not even have to have a special session, just put it at the end of the agenda, but we'll figure that part out with the clerk. But for December 10th, we have still vacant, we still have not had applicants from a lot of individuals. We want, with your permission, continue to accept applications up until Friday, December the 6th. So we'll make sure we get an announcement out in the papers and stuff like that, that we're still considering the application. Couple of things that I would like to point out under the area agency on aging of Northwest Michigan. Mr. Jack Minzer, I can't remember if I sent you his letter, but he is highly recommending, you know, he was a citizen member and he's recommending not to be appointed, but he's also recommending that a member of this body, of the Board of Commissioners, needs to serve on that agency. Everyone else in that role is a member of the county that is being represented there. And there are some major issues that are going to be coming down the pipe for that agency that he honestly feels that he as a citizen could not address and should not address. So I'm just asking you need to remember that of course, I'll be bringing this up with the next body, but we're not gonna want to look for a citizen here. The only other item that's not on here at this time is the Energy Task Force. And you will have to make a decision whether that's going to be continued or not. I know Kama has a concern about when we're going to do that. I don't have their listing on here, but I will include it for later on because it is a committee or a task force that was created by this board. Whether that is to be continued or not be continued, that's still a decision you will have to make, or however you want to do that. You can either talk about it now, or you can bring it up at the December 10th meeting, whichever way you would like to do that. So, Pam, I know you had some thoughts about it, and
Well, the deadline for 1 year has expired, so it is the assumption that it's okay for us to continue meeting, but I'm not assuming anything anymore, so. Yeah.
The TTCI, is that going to be an ongoing thing? And it's not on here, is it? I mean, like,
it's not at this moment. That's a decision you guys have to make.
yeah, I mean, my meeting is this afternoon and,
Okay, what,
the meeting is this
oh,
afternoon.
well, thank you for that, but I'll make sure I get that put on here, the TTCI.
Thank you, sir.
I see what you're saying. I got it on here.
And the materials management too, right? The regional materials management, I don't see that listed.
Okay, thank you for that review.
Mr. Marshall?
As far as the Energy Futures Task Force, I think that probably should be left to the next commission. I'm not sure how to handle it in between now. I mean, we could authorize it, but they can unauthorize it the day they're sworn in.
We told the board that, we told the group that we would tell them a month after they reported. We were gonna continue with that. There's no reason not to. You can revert, you can change your mind.
Well, it automatically expired, so unless we re-up it,
Then
it's
you have
done.
to authorize it again then. I don't know the status of it right now.
We did get a recommendation from them to continue. It was my judgment, and I'm just one person, that's a decision that the new board of commissioners ought to make in January. And part of the reason I say that is I don't think there's 4 votes at this table for it. And I want it to happen. I think it's more likely that it could happen with the new board. Commissioner Ross and then Commissioner Aldridge.
Oh, no, I've just got my hand here.
Okay.
So expending no taxpayer dollars or time to meet in December, or should we hold off until we would meet the first Thursday of December?
And it does not expend any county funds. It is a group of people with very good intentions who are experts in their field. Or have knowledge.
That group of people can meet entirely as they choose to, but not under the title of this group.
Well, the reason it's so important that it's a task force under the county is that gives access to grants and funds that normally you could not access.
That's not
There
the
are an
question.
awful lot of them.
That's different than what was just spoke about. So,
What?
that's different. You were asking whether they could meet in December. As a group, they can meet in December.
I'm just saying, I don't see any reason why we could not authorize that group. It doesn't cost us any money. And it's a group of citizens working on an issue that's
There is a
very
2% grant that the committee has put, or that the task force has put forward. So there is business to be taken care of by this group, and we want to meet. legally.
Would this board be willing to authorize task force to officially continue until the end of this year and then suggest that the new board have that on their January agenda to plan accordingly?
So I just have a question, a comment. I mean, I'm assuming that this board has to, I mean, this board approves everything that comes from them anyway. They can't take any unilateral action. All you're asking, all you're doing in that event is allowing the continuing on, and we do not know what the next board will do. So I guess, you know, I personally, I'm open to discussion, but allowing them to meet doesn't commit any action at all.
This, ma'am,
Yeah.
okay, this isn't one of our boards and commissions. That was a task force. And we aren't discussing task forces today. I mean, it's not on our agenda to do so. So I think that would have to be an action item. No public knew we were going to discuss about it. No public could speak about it this morning.
And we do not have the Housing Action Committee on this list either. I understand the issue. Commissioner Rush?
We were on the agenda last month to give a report, which we complied. A follow-up to me out of respect would be to make a decision as soon as possible to respect the efforts that this group has taken to further renewable energy, clean energy.
So we could next week have it on the agenda to approve the task force through the end of the year. And that's a simple, that's very simple.
I mean, that would, at least your concerns, Commissioner Lautner, that then it's been notified, right? I mean,
But our meeting is before this board meets in December, so the first
Well,
Thursday.
no,
of
that's
December.
not what she's saying.
Well, I'm
She's
saying
saying
next
that
regular session.
move it forward to
Okay,
next week
yeah.
as an action item and decide next week to give the public a few days to prepare.
And
Oh,
Commissioner Lautner
That
is
can be
right.
done. That can be done. That's what your desire is to do that.
It's not my.
We'll have it prepared for you.
And listed on the agenda that's online in advance so the public understands that it's on the agenda.
So we can't move that forward from this meeting, but it could be added as a late agenda item next week. Is that what you're saying?
However we do that, I'll work with the clerk.
Yeah, you can't move forward something that's not on the agenda to begin with, so it's gonna be a.
I just think it's important that it be listed on the agenda so that the public hears about it before the meeting.
Correct.
So potential late addition item, Energy Task Force. Otherwise, we'll hear from Commissioner Lautner that we have notified the public and we can't talk about it.
Well,
You're getting all my tricks figured out, Todd. I'm talking about process and policy. We can't, I mean, we have to follow our.
No,
Well, we should be following our policies and procedures.
last month I did something where I had it on there and I had in parentheses late edition, but it was on the agenda.
Has to be.
And when you approve the
Good to know.
agenda,
It is always good to know there are.
when you approve the agenda, you approve
Issues.
the action. So that's how we'll do it. Okay.
And rookie
So we
agrees.
need to set a date.
Yes, date to do this, you know, if you want to do that December the 10th, which would be after your executive session or at the end of your executive session, take a break and then however you want to do that.
I think so.
Sounds good.
The 10th.
Yes.
So then we're gonna do our committee assignments. That-
Correct.
Okay.
Do we need to have a motion to that effect, or is that just an agreement amongst the members?
I think I had it in. I can't remember what it is. I think I had it. I will have it on your agenda next, a motion to set, well, you just said it, yes. I'll have it on the meeting next week to make it official.
Just set it for the 10th.
Yes.
Right after whenever the executive.
Correct.
So better have a motion to move forward to the next week, a potential date for a meeting.
You need
So-
a motion now, so moved, yeah.
Support.
Well, I don't have Well, I didn't have one written out for you.
I think we can just sign, we just signed that after the meeting. Three commissioners requested after the meeting, we can sign and.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. We now down to 2% tribal grant applications. We have several, Richard.
You have several, 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
You had a total of 12 applications that were submitted. If the total comes to $560,198.19. That's some of that down to the penny, it's great. But they're all good proposals and good grant offerings. And one good thing to move, and some of these may have, not all of them, of course, going to get funded by these, I would think, but it'd be nice if half of them did, which ones they choose, so. And all the applications as following our process are in front of you. Take it from there. Great works.
And this board approved all of these as potential applications.
Just they did last month.
So this is informational, no action required.
No, we have to approve the grants now.
You have to approve the, there is a long motion in here, and we're outlining.
Oh, yeah, there is.
There it all is, but there it is, the recommend the fall applications be submitted to the Grand Traverse Tribe ban for consideration of the winter cycle. So it'll be moved forward, and at your meeting next Tuesday evening, you will authorize us to submit these. There may be some letters of support flagged to it, but the basic application are completed, so.
Commissioner Rush. Okay, I'm sorry.
I liked your short version.
I
I move to recommend the following applications.
Well, I mean, we'll type in the motion if you just want to go up to the semicolon, is that okay?
Yes.
Move to recommend the motion as written in the EDS.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a
I
good
already
idea.
made it all pretty, so I just need who wants to
Just do-
make the motion and the
Okay, we
second.
make the motion
Support.
as presented.
There you go.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Oh, we got a second, yeah. Any discussion?
I just a question of whether, I'm not opposed to, Leelanau County, if they choose to ask for us as board commissioners, ask for the funds to potentially do the, charging stations here at the county building. I just wonder if we shouldn't be putting that request through as county rather than do it through the task force. Because
It is through the county.
It is to the county. We receive the funds.
I understand, we are the pass through, but should the county be asker, county board commissioners be the asker, just by technical.
Well, we are
Well-
through the task force.
Of course, but we are also not seeds. We are the pass through for seeds, we are the pass through for the W, we are the pass through for home stretch housing, etc.
But at the
We are
end of the day,
pass-through.
if this is approved, it will be on county property. It will be us that we will own. So we'll have to work it through.
Okay, just asking.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0, thank you. This ought to be an easy one. We talked about it several times. Chairs.
You have the motion, you have how many chairs. I mean, this has been a long running discussion. We've gone through everything to look at all the chairs that we need. You have a quote from a local vendor that we received some time ago, but we also have a quote. Now I gotta go find this all here because there's so much in here. The other one, gotta find my page. Here it is.
Well, while you're looking for that, we have our nice acronym. Will you share what our nice
Oh,
acronym is?
yes, forgot. Do that. I was gonna do that at the end of my reports.
Oh.
The NICE acronym, NICE, stands for Neptune Intelligence Computer Engineering. There you go. We'll make sure.
You get that.
Jen, I'll give that to you. You can put it in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, you have the memo from Lauren through the process. We have a quote from Staples, which for $48,501.86. Staples, as we had mentioned before, has a contract with Infield, the state of Michigan, which we can purchase it through them. We can also waive the bidding process and go with the other vendor that gave us a quote. Was
A lot more.
yeah.
Well, originally they came
From Integrity Business Solutions, so these are both of them, and so.
Looking for a motion.
But this takes care of the entire organization.
The staff that tested the chairs, were they okay with this?
Yes,
Staples ones?
yes, they're the same exact chair as what was bought over here in the, same exact chairs that were bought previously.
Okay.
So same as that.
Commissioner Elder.
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners approve the action taken to permit. No, I'm on the wrong page. I take it back.
Page
Approve the purchase of
464.
129 chairs
Forward
for
too
Staples
far,
in the amount
sorry.
of $48,501.
I'm on the next one.
86 with funds to come from fund balance account number ending in 967.000.
Support.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
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 Motion approved. Now, Gwen, it's your turn.
Yeah, but I lost the page. Just for y'all know there are 500 pages on this packet.
On page 482.
Yes.
Before claims and accounts and
Okay.
before
I move
post
to
office.
recommend that the county board of commissioners approve the action taken to permit T-Mobile to utilize Leelanau County electrical power at the Central Tower site for 1 month in exchange for $750 funds submitted by the county to the county treasurer.
This is one of those actions that legally, get the calendar to work right, we'd have brought to you sooner, but we also know that allowing it, and so we're kind of asking for your approval after you. Well, we are asking your approval after the fact. But the bottom line is that the sooner we get the T-Mobile operating, the sooner we start collecting revenue for that tower. So
Makes sense.
I mean, and they were willing to pay that, so.
We have a motion, but no second.
Support.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. We're now down to item TF.
10F.
Commissioner Rushman.
Yeah, so I respect and value the information that the clerk's office brings to this process, and they do have an endless amount of history there, and I think their input is invaluable. But I think it needs to be structured differently. My proposal is to cease the stipends, and I think, actually, by my reading of all the minutes, we would have to take action to reimpose them. The very last action taken by this board was that those stipends would end in November after the budget process. That's the last motion this board has taken. With due respect to the process and valuing the input from the clerk's office, I would recommend that we establish a hourly rate and to use them as needed for those things. I don't think we need both people and that we don't need 20 hours a month for this effort. So that's my proposal to end the stipends, which does, I don't think it needs any action by this board. I think it's already been established, but to enter into an agreement where maybe if you need them, you go to a negotiating session, you come back in the negotiating session and you ask questions and they provide the input. I think they should be compensated for that, but I think the stipends end unless this board overrides its previous motion. So I'm trying to value the expertise that they present and value their input, but I think the stipends end and you use their money as needed basis. That would be.
Is that possible?
I don't think we can pay them on an hourly basis, but I'll have to do some checking for that.
Because they need to be compensated and you've made it very clear that we need their expertise.
It is part of an expertise that when we started into negotiations, we realized that the folks that your permission and you allowed us to bring on board have not experienced. And their expertise is needed because they've been through negotiations more than I have with the county. And we need that background, we need that expertise to help even with our lead negotiator. I think that's going to be critical to learn and to understand. I understand where you're looking, because originally I thought we should end this when we presented the budget, but then I realized that wasn't going to work so well. I'm not comfortable with your recommendation, sir. I think that would be a futile mistake if I were to agree with that on my part. I think that would be an exercise of going backwards, but the decision does not rest with me. It rests with you six right now. So with that, I'm not saying another word. I'm gonna get another cup of coffee. Go ahead, tell me what you want.
Commissioner, O'Rourke.
Well, let's put a sunset clause on it, 6 months.
We've done that.
We've done, but if we let it go to a new board and it goes all the way through the 4 years, we put a sunset clause on it now. I think that would do.
A second, we would have done that.
I mean, the point is that because of the people, that's the new people, to try to get things going smoothly, which we like things to go smoothly. And I hate stipends worse than anything. I mean, I got deputies over there that does a lot of extra things that they should have a stipend, you know? But
Commissioner Lautner?
Well, I think we kind of maybe have some ideas of what we want, but perhaps maybe not how to get there. I think that I know for a fact that I don't want to lose the expertise out of that office. It is not just historical, it's academic, it's all sorts of things. And I was going to ask Kathy to speak. We have a brand new, I call it an infant accounting department. We've made it through almost 1 year. I don't even know if it's been a year. I know we've got employees that haven't been here a year. And I was just gonna ask, like, how much you still depend on that office to answer the questions that need to be done as these things come up. It's extremely complicated. And as far as, so I guess to answer that and then go on to negotiations, because we absolutely can't lose, the county can't lose that support with negotiations because of the way those contracts have been negotiated over the years. We need that expertise, I guess. So.
But I want to make sure all commissioners get a chance to talk, but you can answer her question, Kathy.
Oh, well, I was reflecting a bit, since this finance business began in January of 22. You've gone through 6 different versions of a finance director, 3 different versions of an HR director, now manager, and 6 clerks and 2 variations of an assistant finance director. Now, the team you're looking at now, I've been here in this role, interim or the real deal or the assistant finance director, since December or January of 23. So a little over 18 months. 6 months into it, we lost 2 experienced clerks. Then we hired 2 inexperienced clerks. They've left. I've had Elizabeth since February as specifically AP, and she's phenomenal. And I have Jody for for payroll mid-December, and Mike came on board September 30th. So we're talking, they've been with me weeks, just weeks. During the time that I have performed this role for you, it's no secret that my mom was hospitalized and I've been exposed to COVID many times. My son broke his back. I've had a grandchild born and I've not missed a day. I've been here. So if I go down, you're in a world of hurt. And I think that if for any reason, all the reasons Commissioner Lautner spoke of, the historian value that they lend to me helping teach my staff, they could help teach my staff if I don't have the time. Richard has pulled me off my desk, and rightfully so. I need to be the right hand to the administrator, but I'm still training people that have only been here weeks. I could have some assistance with that. And I have full confidence that this staff will be phenomenal down the road. But I know, having been trained in these roles, to become proficient at payroll, it takes over a year. And there'll be new contracts. You have to be very knowledgeable about all the negotiated contracts to do payroll. And so have I got Jody reading these? Yes. Are they going to change in a hot 2 months? I don't know. They will, then we'll be relearning those, as I will be. And as for union negotiations, Friday was a learning curve for me to sit in that room. I have never been included in that in all the years, because I was a clerk for the accounting department with the clerk's office. I was an account clerk. And so it was an eye opener. And I just was so thankful that Chief Deputy Zawicki was there, because what she brings to the table just accelerates my learning curve. But what we accomplished, or what we started in on Friday, we couldn't have done without. That helped.
Mr. Russ?
So it has been brought to our attention, there might be a legal problem with making
An hourly wage.
or continuing the stipends if we've already decided that stuff. That was brought up in public comment.
I don't know if there'll be any, you've been doing the stipends, it's creating an hourly wage for a salary employee. They're not, and you're paying X amount, you're doing a flat dollar amount every week right now.
It's an apples and oranges thing.
It's apples and oranges, gotta make sure we do it the right way.
Doesn't mean it can't be done.
I think we heard about that in negotiations, that we can't.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
I think that we need to make sure
It has to be structured.
this can, I think we need to make sure that it's even legal to do the hourly, but even after listening to you, how on earth, if we went to hourly, so one of you has a question about something that's been happening for years, and Jen Zawicki runs over for 10 minutes, how on earth do you account for that? I do think we'll be shooting ourselves in the foot, if not more, if we discontinue this, especially when the people involved in the work have said it's needed and we're gonna save a lot of money long-term if we invest now in what you need. We've done preemptive stuff before, and we paid for it. But I vote that we support the voices of the people doing the work and continue the stipends.
While Kathy has brought up the part about the finance department, our human resources manager has only been here just as long as just as long as our assistant finance director. And she's learning all that. She's digging in hard. She's involved in the negotiations, because when this is done, that's the individual who has to administer the contracts. That'll be between the finance director and your HR person. That'll be the main two that'll be working with your county administrator to administer any contracts that come out. And that's a learning curve for her also.
I haven't had a chance to speak to it, so I'd like to speak to it. We developed the stipends on the basis of 10 hours a week for 2 people. That's 40 hours a month times 2 people. There's not 80 hours of work that we need in consultation for negotiations. I value the expertise. And I think we can figure out a way to compensate, whether it's hourly or, but I think this board is being asked to continue to prolong a stipend without talking about some compromise. There is not 80 hours of negotiations in the next 2 months to be done by 2 consultants. We have an attorney we're paying. Melinda's been on the negotiating team for 110 years. I've been negotiating contracts for decades. We do not need 80 hours of consultation for this negotiation. And what happens, let me just continue, what happens, and I think it's likely that negotiations go on until April or May or June. I mean, we don't know when it's going to be settled. We cannot continue to say we have an unlimited amount of stipend money to pay. I'd rather ask the administrator, and I respect his skill, to come back and say, well, we got to do something, but here's what we can do to illustrate a little bit of compromise. Because we've got a good team in place. And this board did say, when we get this book and we have our public hearing, we are done with stipend. There are people watching us on that. There are people that care about that. And I think it's real important that we don't just keep each month or every couple of months say, well, let's just prolong the decision a little bit. So I am not in support of a stipend at the rate that we've been paying for 2 people. And yet I want to make sure I communicate that I think they've been wonderful. They've been invaluable. We needed them. They put together a finance department. Now we're in it together and we can make it work. So that's my opinion.
So are you talking about a compromise though? So
I'm
another somehow 15 hours a week or 10 hours a week or hourly or whatever is legal, but support what our finance director is saying she needs and what our administrators, because we will live with mistakes. We cut off too soon once. Let's learn from that. So I'm willing to compromise, but I'm sure not ready to say, well, fly your kite, you're on your own.
So again, I agree with respect to the finance department, no disrespect to Kathy, when we made this decision regarding finances, there's no consideration of bargaining. All this knowledge was available then. There was no, any time someone could have then said, hey, don't make that decision. We need help for the next 6 months or a year. That was never brought up during the stipend decision process.
My mistake turned me to the state.
Well, there was,
I blew it.
all sorts of other people might have said that. So I think the finance
No,
department. is
I'm the
on-
one who's held accountable. Nobody else here is. If I had known it, I would have said something different.
I'm the board chair on this.
Yeah, and I'm the county administrator, so.
All right, withdraw the part that places anything, but I cannot support the ongoing stipends in this room and will not. And if there's another option, someone can bring, then I would be willing to look at it, but right now, it's my understanding they're done unless this board takes action.
I would like to see us with a compromise, see what's legal, to give the support where it's needed. Perhaps, and what we have been doing, but do it in another way. So can we work on a compromise, on a new program that's tailored to what's going on now? And come back with that next week.
That was my view, that it's not this or nothing, it's what do we have to do to make it all work?
Yeah, because I want to support the finance department. We worked really hard to put it together. I want to make sure we don't leave them in the lurch too soon. So I'm hearing from the finance department that they continue to need some support and training. And we heard that we absolutely need the experience. Mistakes that we make in bargaining, we will live with for years. And it could cost us thousands.
Commissioner Lauder?
Yes, thank you. From what I hear, I don't disagree that, you may be on track with how many hours do we need. And I think that's what we ought to be looking at, perhaps we don't need 80, the calculations are correct. But we do need to continue. Not just negotiations, that are ongoing right now. But we're doing the training still as well. But there are future negotiations, and I am extremely, I honestly, Doug, I really wish that all of you could have been in that room Friday to watch the machine work, because it is an incredible process. And even Matt is relatively new in being our attorney. So different than when we had Peter Cole, and Peter also knew all these contracts and what we had done previous years and why we were doing what we were doing. And it's all pretty new to Matt. Right now, Jen is our main
Historian.
but the most important part, like you said, Jen eventually, the other Jen, will eventually get it. Our new administrator hopefully will be here for years and will eventually get it. As Kathy said, she has learned, but the future negotiations, Leelanau County has got to make sure we keep Jen on our negotiating team. And I probably can't go into a lot of things we've negotiated because they're ongoing, and the importance of them, though, is just incredible. Right now, our accounting finally is going good. We're on the right track. I don't want to see it fail. And I'm just afraid that if we pull these now, we thought we would be further down this road by now, and we're just not yet. So, and I just don't want to see it fail. Money is not the reason we have to stop these. Not right now. We've got the money. We're spending money like crazy up here. The only reason we're even hearing about these stipends is it is particularly one or two people, seems to be their life goal to keep hammering this to stop these out of probably personal spite. They know who they are. No, not you.
Damn right it's not.
They know who they are, but that's who's pushing this whole thing. So I think there can be, I've heard the word compromise, maybe it's in hours. I don't think it's in months, but perhaps it is in hours. And we've got to do what's right for Leelanau County, not what's right for a few people out there who are trying to convince and run the county from outside.
But now, I'd just like to clarify for a minute that no one is trying to run my opinion from outside. My opinion is expressed are mine and mine alone.
So you haven't heard from outside people whispering in your ear about what you need to do about this?
No.
So can we have another?
Other than my
revised
constituents, we're not.
proposal next week?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Can we have a revised proposal next week?
If our administrator is willing to do that.
What's the proposal?
Would
If
you
that's
like
what you
for-
so direct, I will be
Can the
glad.
negotiating team sit down with the administrator and
I will,
Seth?
I
And
don't
come
know
up
if
with
that's the
something?
proper method or not, but I will,
What's the, what do you?
I'll see what I can put together. That's all I can promise you.
Right, that's what we can come up with.
What is Jim Brandon?
I think we have two, it's two.
That's what I'm.
Understand.
If I understand, and yeah, I've been involved in union negotiations for 35 years myself, not public but private union negotiations, and that advice is invaluable. But if you're not sitting at the negotiating table, you come back and have a meeting, and meeting lasts a couple hours to review what's there. That's the end of it until the next negotiation session. Again, you need to find out what's there. I see this as a very limited amount of need, not that it isn't extremely needed in the amount it is, But as I just looked through the process, I mean, as far as the union negotiating side, I don't see it as a big amount of time. The time there is, I agree, invaluable, but I guess if it's gonna come back, it's gonna have to, for me to support, it's gonna have to be a very limited amount of time, because I know how the process works, you come back and discuss the proposal, and the people that have all this history and information, give you the input, this is where you make a mistake, that only lasts a certain amount of time, and then you're done until the next round, and there's a next round of proposals, so.
Sometimes it's interpretation also. I mean, and Kathy would probably could speak to that much better. But we've got, say, we're looking at the allowances for the sheriff's department. And there's other things that are negotiated for the deputies, and then it comes down to payroll and what's taxable, what's not taxable, et cetera. And it's all kind of tied in.
So what we're looking for is just a more tailored proposal.
I think so.
I'll see what I can do.
To
I'm not
what's
gonna make any
needed,
promises.
because we don't want to leave you
Because
guys
there's
out.
more than me involved here, so.
Are we in agreement with the board that we would like the administrator to come back if he can with a revised proposal, hearing what the board has said today?
Yes.
We don't need a motion for that, it'll just be on next week's agenda. Thank you. We now have to pay some MAC dues.
Okay, in your packet is the annual MAC dues that are required, being requested. So you can see this invoice was dated some time ago, so it probably got lost in Alan's email account presented by Steve. Anyway, based upon what you did last year, which I understand is that MAC does their dues based upon the SEV of the county, which of course, Leelanau County has a very healthy SEV, but probably doesn't provide any more services than some other counties. So since 2003, you've been basing your dues based on a different formula that you've done. Last year, you did $12,000. I just put the same amount in there for this year. I did talk with Ms. Lochner about that because I know she's in the notes that she had last year. She explained it, why they do it the way they did. So that's why I put it the way it was.
Commissioner Lochner has her hand up, and then Commissioner Older.
Yes, I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the 2024-2025 Michigan Association of Counties, MAC, annual membership dues in the amount of $12,000 with funds to come from Board of Commissioners membership dues and fees line item 101-87.000.
Support.
Any discussion?
I'd like to add that somehow they also missed the last meeting. They read off everybody who hadn't paid yet. Somehow they missed that we hadn't paid, so
I sent me a notice. Also, I did, when I talked to the county executive director of MAC, just so you know, it's on the record, we're the only county that doesn't pay the full amount, but there's a good reason for it, so.
Can I expand upon that because it's really quite interesting. I think it's going to be important for the future.
There you go.
So, yeah, Matt, some years ago, when I first got on in this large bill, and I said, how are these dues structured? Because, we were at the time like 17,000 population. That's when we found out it was based on population and SEVs. So we Leelanau County were paying like $1. It came down to $1 a resident. And meanwhile, other counties in Southeast Michigan were paying like 12 cents a person or a resident. So it was just so way off base. And that's when we basically negotiated and we said we will pay, and at the time it was like 9. So we will pay you 9,000 and they're like, okay. So it works as well. We don't use them for a whole lot of things. They are very helpful when it does come in, but they don't want to lose us. We don't want to lose them. This works. But we asked them to relook at their due structure, and they've just chosen to not do that. They just want to continue this way.
I will say that they have people working. I don't always agree with what they're working on, but they do have people who are working continually with the legislature. So it's not just that they help us every once in a while, they're in
No, but
there
with,
all the time.
with our population, what it is,
On
this
issues.
this is fair. With our population up here, this is fair.
So we have a motion on the table. All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. We are now down to review of financials. Kathy, you're back at us.
Any questions?
I had a couple of questions. We had, claims and accounts, page 13, we have membership dues for our drain commissioner for 2025. Our drain commissioners are going to be here in 2025, so I'm wondering why we are paying those membership dues.
And I don't know if it's transferable. Can I find
Can you
out?
find out for me?
Yeah.
That was my next question.
Okay.
I saw we were, the sheriff isn't here. We're buying coffee for inmates now on page 12. I don't remember the vendor. Why would we buy coffee for inmates? Well, that was my question, because I was told, my God, there's no way I'd break the law because I couldn't survive over there without coffee. And he says, no, he doesn't give coffee to his inmates. But now I see it's in there. So I was just kind of curious if you can tell us what changed. Or
On
why
page
it's now 12, page 12, I think it was.
I don't see it on page 12. Mike, do you remember which vendor that might be?
It was coffee, inmates coffee.
Would it be Leelanau?
It wasn't Leelanau Coffee Roasters, it was a different vendor. But he could, I'd like for Mike to, I'm probably.
And it could be that they're paying for it out of the inmate fund. Did you check what, I'm sorry, did you check which account it came out of? I didn't mean to say it that way, but.
Yeah, we just,
Okay,
going to need, yeah,
I'll look it up and see what that is.
that's coffee.
We'll send out a,
Maybe it wasn't, yeah, all right, that was great. All right, and then, I think it was claims and accounts, I see we had a bike repair out of courts, and it was, it's probably diversion.
it is diversion.
So we have a bike repair, 140 some.
And they have a special line item and it's a reimbursable.
Is that the 75% reimbursable?
Yes,
So the reason we're paying for the bike repair is.
I think,
He figures that this is diversion for.
well, they do take bike trips, these groups, they do have,
All right.
I think it's the second time this year we've done a bike repair. Mhm.
Okay, post audit report number 1. We had an interceptor and it was a large bill, 5,000 and some, I didn't write it down.
Correct. This is the car that was totaled in the summer and the
Oh.
MMRMA offset 47,000.
Yeah.
So that'll come out of the,
So that's not another car, that's the same car that was totaled.
we're
Oh,
replacing the
car
vehicle.
somebody turned in front of our deputy,
New cars here is getting.
Yeah.
tape on it now.
So we're putting all the stuff back together.
Same car, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Report number 2, page 14. Why did we do some window darkening? Was it like on southwest side of the building, was it too bright for someone?
4 rolls of window darkening film. It was charged to the buildings and grounds. This would have gone to claims last month. I'm not sure which office got darkened. Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay.
We'll find out.
We can find out.
But you're
Okay.
probably right, the afternoon sun or the morning sun
Yeah,
was.
okay. Then they were already tinted, but we just needed to be tinted further. Okay, and then I found page 25, we refunded, I think it was $80 for 40 tires for the recycling. And I didn't think we refunded once you pay. If you pay to recycle and then you don't come in, I didn't think we refunded, so, but maybe something else wonky happened, I don't know.
Refund of 40, and I do remember this. And it was something about they couldn't take them or let me, check.
Bigger tires than what we're allowed. So, okay,
I think, I thought that they couldn't take them. It wasn't that they didn't show up.
Not to refund, so it must have been a
Yeah.
special situation, correct?
And I feel like they couldn't take them. There was
Okay.
some rejection involved. But I'll double check with Gail.
Thank you, that is all.
Any other questions for Kathy? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Sure.
Special reports. Thank you. This time we have our second opportunity for public comment. This time you have 5 minutes. Mr. Lewis to keep the time. And we'll start with you, Mr. Stephens. I'm Harry Stephens. I'm a precinct delegate in Leland Township. You guys been listening to me coming here off and on for over 3.5 years complaining about those voting machines. I think those machines are rigged and you haven't convinced me otherwise. But you have an opportunity to do that right now. All you gotta do is hand count all the races. And when they're done, if that agrees with what the machine said, then that's it. I can rest my case. So I just want you to be aware, you got that opportunity, and I would highly recommend that you count all the races, recount them, but hand count them, and then see if the machine is accurate. So there's opportunity there for you. That's all I want to tell you. Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes.
Christine Kramer. I used to be in accounting. I am now in the treasurer's office. When I started July 18th. I'm sorry, I'm having problems trying to phrase what I'm trying to say. It seems that the expectations for accounting is completely different than when I was in there. I remember in November, Kathy herself rolling out the clerk's payroll audit. I was hired July 18th. Jared was hired a week after me and Ziwa a week before me. And I remember them rolling out that audit about how awful we were and how we make all these mistakes. Jared even created a graph, and this is from April to November. Kathy has been in her position for 1.5 years. It's amazing how much lower expectations have come. I'll leave this here for any of you who would like to look at that. And the meeting should still be on our website. Feel free to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, Ms. Maddox.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Renee Weiler from Lake Leelanau, and I would like to follow up on what this person just said. I spoke with the treasurer a while back, and he could not answer why there was a deposit, a check that was given to him that he had to hold on for 4 months. Why would a county hold on to a deposit for 4 months? We still don't have answers on who instructed him to hold on to that check. That needs to be answered. I'm also concerned with these backdoor partisan committees and task force that have not allowed conservative fiscal mind to be on their committees. Chairman Wessel was kind enough to allow Dave Mosier and myself to serve on the Green Futures Task Force, and we were immediately deleted by Ms. Algier, and I don't understand that. There's serious civil rights violations just percolating through these partisan committees and task force that we don't have access to. We don't know what they're doing. And now, as Commissioner Lautler said, they're pass-throughs for funds from the county. That's not going to stand. So we need to know, in fact, I need to know, I actually also applied for the Land Bank Committee. I've been in mortgage banking for 25 years, but apparently that's not good enough to be on the Land Bank Committee. After I submitted my application and was deleted, apparently there's an attorney that is now on that committee. Is that true? No more of this. We're not doing this. We are your bosses. You are our servants. And going forward, we're going to be shining a light on all these dark spaces. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Bukowski.
Good afternoon. Regarding stipends, perhaps there is a simpler methodology to use, is have the stipend go into the sunset month by month at 10% per month. And thereafter, those services that are questions that are necessary of those same areas would continue on without a stipend. In other words, for the next 10 months, you could reduce that stipend 10%, and at the end of 10 months, it'll be zero. And thereafter, the people involved would still be required to help whenever it was necessary. And this brought on this discussion, which revealed some of the losses of information that the no plan for that occurred on May 11, 2021, the clerk loathing motion that had no plan. And these are still the results of that no plan. And we're going to live with them perhaps for a long time, including the waste of over $1 million in this arena. And in this discussion, we were seeking some information and hoping that the commissioners would say that the finances are important for the benefit of the taxpayers and the people of this county. We did not hear this discussion at all, that the people of this county need to be properly represented and taken care of as regards to through their best interest. Furthermore, I was astounded by the fact that government has grown so much that for all the commissioners here, they had to browse through 500 pages of material today to come to this meeting. This is why no person with a full-time job can ever serve on the county commission. Government has grown so much that it's become a monster, impossible to control unless elected officials are almost full-time people. The discussion today was talking about a democracy. I don't think we have a democracy, but someone will have to help me understand, because I believe we have a republic. I was in the private sector and involved also in labor negotiations 3 times, in which there were 700 employees involved. And I was part of the management team. So I fully understand the need for all the help you can get in these negotiations. This included international reps and other people. Extremely demanding process, and it is ongoing. You don't leave a meeting and walk out the door and don't discuss anything for the next meeting you're going to have a week or two later. This is an ongoing, has to become an obsession with the negotiating teams to stay with it all the time. Otherwise, you're doing a disservice to the public. I hear the word stakeholders used here. My definition of a stakeholder, looking it up, is one who holds the bets. And I don't think there's room for stakeholders in our discussions over here. And finally, we ran for public office about 30 years ago, twice as a township trustee and once for township supervisor. All three times we lost by 5-6 votes, or by the last time by 35 votes. And our last loss was caused by a person well-known in this community who wrote a letter to the editor that destroyed my character. The Enterprise wrote a letter the day after publication apologizing for me to allowing that mean-spirited letter to be written. If you ever want to see it, I have a copy of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Steve. Any other public comment? Yes.
Jim Culverstead, Leelanau Township. I heard mentioned several times earlier today that how the system works in regards to the election that we just had. The system works. The system involves two major processes. One is the process itself, and one is the procedure to accomplish it. The procedure that I believe, let me back up a second. A problem with the procedure or the process, or a combination of both, could skew anything, any result from anywhere. Regarding the procedure, out of the last 3 years, when I've observed the procedures that we use here at the voting machine accuracy tests, I have seen nothing short of an excellent procedure in going through what was required, which I believe is grossly inadequate, but what was required by the state for our county clerk, Michelle, to do. She performed those flawlessly. She did a great job with procedures. She follows the state rules, the state directions to accomplish what the process was demanding. Process, on the other hand, is like ingredients. Maybe ingredients that you're aware of, maybe some that you're not. You had a golden opportunity at the beginning of this year, a golden opportunity to look deeper into what the ingredients were that we used in that election. If there would have been some back and forth earlier in February, you may have been brought up to speed or maybe a little bit more educated in exactly what the process that we use involves. I kind of regret that that opportunity was not taken by the board. You let it just pass by. You could have been up to speed on some of the activities and some of the things that go on within that process. That kind of falls on you. You had an opportunity, and it wasn't just that opportunity. It's been mentioned over the past several years at various levels. You kind of ignored the process. You took it on faith. That process, our primary process for the decision-making in our election, is software programs run by computers, which we have no clue how it's making its final decisions, not just the decisions in the canvassing about doing an item count from voter to ballot. I'm talking about the more detailed precisions, which can easily be done accurately, but without any supervision
without knowledge, without transparency, which we don't have. No one can tell me how that machine sorts my decisions that I put on a ballot. And that was validated during this last voting machine accuracy test. When I posed that to the individuals there, and I got a response back that we cannot show you how your vote was counted. That concerns me gravely. Gravely. And that should have been brought up and discussed and investigated much earlier than even the beginning of this year. It fell on you. When you watched what I showed, it was up to you to make a decision. Those of you who stayed to watch it, those of you who paid attention to watch it, that falls on you. You fund this process. I know by law you have to. At least you have to pay for it. But I believe an example would be, I think it was the 49ers. They had a contract with an individual player on that team. And that individual player proved to be destructive to the team. They had to pay his salary. They had to commit and pay off the contract. But they didn't have to play him. And they didn't. They benched him. That didn't happen that long ago. You had options. You ignored those options. I hope you can respond in detail, each of you, at your commissioner's comment section coming up now, to how you view it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other public comment? Yes, Bill.
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. The only way we can be assured of no fraud is if we have one person, one ballot, one vote, one day. And the handout I just gave, you know, I've heard over and over, we're concerned about this area. Don't talk about all over the country, but all over the country, the machines are used. So if it can happen in other states, it can happen here. And so we see it happening. This is all over the country. This first one, it's looking at statistics showing election fraud evidence in the 2024 election. States Harris won versus ID requirement. And it's from Newsmax. It says a cultural class. Is there a theme amongst the states Harris won? Well, if you look at them, there's some a little lighter and some a little darker. The lighter ones are the Republican ones that won for Republican, and the darker ones are the Democrat ones. And you see, no ID, no ID, no ID, or no photo through basically all the Democratic ones, and not hardly any in the Republican ones that way. I don't see any. And I saw one little YouTube on a guy in California. He went in to the office and he says, "My name is John Doe," or it might not be. And my address is such and such, or it might not be. And he was being responded to, and he said, "And you can't question what I'm telling you, because that's what it says in the law. So you can't ask me for my ID." I mean, that's the insanity of it. And here's an example from last night. I was at a TCAPS meeting and an auditor came in. They come in once a year. They have a firm down, I believe it's in Lansing. They have 50 auditors just for the schools, and they cover 100 schools in Michigan. So that's basically, they do a lot of auditing in the schools, it sounds like to me. I mean, if that math works out right. And he says, whatever I come in and ask for, they give it to me. And they gave me everything I asked for. The voting, I would argue, is much more important than the schools. But we ask these machine companies, for information? And no, that's proprietary. And what's their function? To add one more in each one. How proprietary can that be? So if you go on to page 2, I'll give an example from Arizona. The left part there, Republican Senate candidate Carrie Lake. And you see the 2 charts. You see on the left, Trump won. And Carrie Lake got 139,000 votes less than Trump, both Republicans. And on the other side, Kamala lost, but the Senate candidate for the Democrat got 76,000 votes more. You wouldn't expect that at all. That's where everyone is suspicious about this. We can't see what's happening inside these machines. There's a simple solution. Ballots, you count them. It works. It's cheaper. It's less money, and people have a right to see what's happening. You can't judge what's happening inside these machines. And the last page is another example in Arizona. The House, looking at on the left side of the last page there, it says 74,000 people in Arizona voted for the Republican House candidate, but did not vote for the Republican Senate candidate. Both equal, like in a chess game, like rooks and bishops. Both are important. And but for the Democratic side, 109,000 more people in Arizona voted for their Democratic Senate candidate, but didn't do the same. They had 109,000 less for the House candidate. You know, it's just, they needed the votes to beat out Carrie Lake. And there's 3 other Senate national ones. How can we be sure who actually won those with these machines? We can't. Just one last comment on this handout. It's 48 pages. There's a couple of things on there, 3 questions to ask for the county clerk and all the individual clerks here, and the absolute, well, anyway, it's tcfamily.org. Check those out. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Any other public comment? Thank you for coming today. Any commissioner comment?
When are we going to discuss the meeting schedule that you put out for December? I have a beta meeting on the 12th.
Well, that, we'll get to that when we go into our special meeting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's all part of your interview process.
Right,
Yeah.
I know, and I.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Any other commissioner comment? Yes.
On the new chairs, I wonder if we should have optional seatbelts.
Because it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
I just had one. I'm really not quite sure. You know, we had an employee. Kathy spoke. She gave us some historical perspective about talked about a bumpy ride. What we had with some previous employees trying to get our finance and HR department off the ground. To say it was rough for a little while there, it was rough for a little while, and it was not real pretty. There were an enormous amount of mistakes being made that we just can't stand for here in the county. We've got to do this right. We absolutely got to do it right. So I'm happy we're moving in a direction where we're with all the checks and balances.
Thank you. Thank you. I think now we're at approval of financials, Kathy. How many times have you had to get up and sit down today?
I'm good.
I would recommend approval of claims and accounts, $190,806.68.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye. Aye. Motion approved, 6-0.
Recommend to approve, post audit, $15,836,153.87.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Before we adjourn, we will reconvene at 1:20, okay?
Your next meeting is a special meeting, so is that correct? Jim? I think we set our next meeting up as a general, so you can adjourn this meeting, you'll be meeting here.
But we need to know what time we're.
Can we do 1:30?
1:30 is fine.
I forgot.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.
Jen, we have all the signatures on that. Let's go. I know I said I was.
Today? Yes. Okay. Oh, on that, you must have found those. Yeah, you must have, more, but it's. We're gonna do another one of those. Oh, they must have. I think we just signed all of it.
Materials management.
Okay. Well, I did find
Oh, wait, yes, housing action committee.
it.
But none of them just expiration, because that was something we needed to discuss. Materials management, I mean, I don't have any of that. So I.
Well, that's all done.
I just wanted
We
to
just
clear
got,
that.
we have to make sure who's our representative.
I'm sure that it's not.
So-
Okay, just wanted to.
No, we're okay.
Okay.
Uh,
I gotta go stop the YouTube.